Harbor and an ideal evening for baseball at Camden Yards. As tonight, Fox Saturday Baseball presents an AL Eastern Division showdown between the Boston Red Sox and the Baltimore Orioles. And welcome inside the broadcast booth with John Smoltz, Matt Vasgersian, Ken Rosenthal with us as well. A couple of teams, John, looking up at the surprising New York Yankees, who were shutout winners in Toronto today. In the case of the Boston Red Sox, they were everybody's darling to win the AL East after fortifying the starting rotation with the Chris Sale addition. It's a group that hasn't really clicked yet, but getting them closer is the fact that David Price, starting today, is healthy again.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a club where you feel like moments away they could get going at any time. Their offense could get going. Their bullpen's real good, but it's with their starting pitching and David Price making his second start. Give him 3 starts before he's back to normal. But look at the numbers here at Camden Yard. Almost feels like he's at home. The top 3 in the rotation have a chance to dominate, and that's why a lot of people thought the Boston Red Sox would be in first place, but will end up in first place.
The expectations around the Red Sox based on strong starting pitching. The expectations around the Orioles based on the pop they have in the middle of their order. That's a group that hasn't really clicked yet, though they're getting closer. 8 home runs along the course of a 3-game winning streak, and they're doing it 3 games back of the Yankees, despite the fact that their starting rotation has struggled.
Well, Buck Showalter's done a great job. The formula is offense and bullpen. And if you can get anything out of the starting rotation, you're talking about a playoff team. Well, their starting rotation has been last in the American League, but it's been one guy that's been consistent, and that's Dylan Bundy. You see the numbers there. You see the rest of the starters. This guy's become, in his younger years, a complete pitcher. He's got 4 pitches. He doesn't rear back and just fire it anymore. They're going to need him to be consistent throughout the year, get a little bit more from their starters, and Baltimore can push for that divisional title.
Orioles have taken 2 out of the first 4 in this long weekend series with their division rivals from Boston. In fact, most of the season series between these two will be completed before the All-Star break. The Orioles have had their way with the Red Sox so far. The latest installment coming your way tonight. We're back with the starting lineups in the opening pitch next. Just an absolutely perfect day for baseball. Perfect evening for baseball conditions at Camden Yards. A pleasant 83 degrees as we welcome you back to Baltimore. for Game 3 of this weekend series between a couple of AL Eastern Division rivals. Here's how the Red Sox align against Dylan Bundy tonight per manager John Farrell. In the absence of Dustin Pedroia, Betts and Benintendi lead things off. Xander Bogaerts enjoying a fine season at shortstop, batting number 3. Moreland, Ramirez, and Bradley in the middle of the order. Christian Vasquez, part of the catching platoon, gets the plate tonight. Pablo Sandoval homered yesterday. He's at third base, batting number 8. And the late switch, Devin Marrero, takes over at second base today. Josh Rutledge was a late scratch, suffering from dehydration. It is Dylan Bundy on the mound for Baltimore. He's been every bit the staff ace at the age of 24. Great overall, really great against the division this year.
Yeah, and that's no easy task because it's a tough division to pitch in, the offense that the other teams possess. And he has really been that complete pitcher. He'll pitch with both fastballs, 4-seam and 2-seam, a curveball, a slider, and a changeup. And Dylan Bundy's been tough on right-handers, but he's been tough when it counts the most, especially with 2 outs. And he's taken on a Red Sox lineup that you got to feel is getting closer and closer to making people pay.
A look at the defense behind Bundy tonight. Some nightly outfield decisions for the Orioles, and it's Joey Rickard that gets left field. Hyun-Soo Kim got an outfield start yesterday, came up with a big hit for Baltimore. Some Gold Gloves on the left side of the infield in Machado and Hardy. Of course, Andrew Jones, still one of the best in the business, with 4 Gold Gloves in center field. Time for our Lincoln Motor Company keys to the game.
Well, the killer bees, you're going to see 3 of them in a row, but it starts with Betts. He had an unbelievable wrecking machine last year here in this ballpark. Not so the case this year, but Betts getting closer to the year he had last year. And you think for the Red Sox to be successful, they're going to rely on those killer bees to be hot.
It is indeed Betts, Benintendi, and Bogaerts to lead things off tonight against Baltimore's Dylan Bundy. Orioles and Red Sox, as we mentioned, looking up at the surprising Yankees. They were shutout winners today in Toronto. Baltimore starts play 3 back. Boston 3.5 of the pace. And the first pitch here tonight is in for a strike. Yeah, Betts had quite a season last year here at Camden Yards. In 10 games, 8 home runs. Power came in bunches for Betts last year. Has not replicated that same kind of Baltimore success this year on the road. Dylan Bundy coming off a start Monday against the Yankees, in which he went 7 innings, allowed just 2 runs, and route to a 3-2 win. And he freezes up Betts and gets him on 3 pitches.
Well, that's the breaking ball that he has, the curveball, and he'll throw a firmer pitch with the slider slash cutter. And that's the kryptonite right now for Betts. It's been the curveball. This is a team, the Boston Red Sox, they're not super aggressive. They cherry pick the first pitches every once in a while, but they're going to work the count offensively. Collectively, they do a great job behind the count with 2 strikes, of course, and get on base.
Here's Andrew Benintendi now, the early American League Rookie of the Year contender who got out to a great start in April but has hit the skids of late. Since about the second week of May, Benintendi has had his troubles, and in fact recently 0 for his last 17 entering play tonight, behind 0-2 now. 5 pitches and 5 strikes for Dylan Bundy. Xander Bogaerts waiting next, an all-star last year. Nothing wrong with the way he's begun 2017. Off to a great start this year. 0-2 the count to Andrew Benintendi. Fights him off and dumps a little liner out to the opposite field. It's handled by Joey Rickard for route number 2.
You know, the whole league is definitely going to be able to make adjustments on any particular young hitter that comes out of the gates, and that's what they've done to Benintendi. It was changeups away, and now they're beating him with fastballs in, and he's just timing wise a little bit out of sorts. The last 7 games have been very difficult for that young man, who they believe is not a platoon player, but recently they've been able to give him some time off against left-handers as he struggled.
2 quick outs now for Xander Bogaerts, the 2-time Silver Slugger Award winner at shortstop in the American League. He's hit safely in 10 of his last 12, that is, as Bundy starts him with a strike. 7 pitches for Dylan Bundy to start this one, all for strikes. You know, you talked about, John, how Bundy has seen the Red Sox a lot already this year. These two teams have seen one another often. 11 games between them already. This is number 12. And Bundy making his 4th start against Boston. He made 3 starts against the Red Sox in a 20-day period. And that always leads fans to speculate who needs to adjust to whom.
It's a pitcher's nightmare. At least it was for me, because no matter what you've done, you feel like the more a hitter gets to see you, the better it is for them. So as a pitcher, you're trying to think the cat and mouse game. And do I adjust? And this guy's had the last 2 games 0 runs into the 8th inning twice.
That's yanked into the corner and trouble as Rickard has to go and get it. One of the best 2-strike hitters in baseball, Xander Bogaerts, with a 2-out double here in the 1st.
Yeah, it's an approach that this whole lineup is very stingy when they're behind in the count. Certainly, as you mentioned, taking advantage of this pitch, middle in, and pulling it. They'd like to see a little more power out of Bogaerts, but his offense has been very consistent. One of the best hitters in the last 3 years. He gets forgotten, from my count, when we talk about all the great shortstops in our young players. You don't hear his name as much as you should.
So a 2-out RBI opportunity now for the first baseman tonight, Mitch Moreland. Moreland has had his trouble with Bundy this year, 1 for 11 against the Baltimore right-hander, and the high fastball makes it a ball and no strike count to Mitch Moreland.
Well, this is going to be a good test, because you're talking about 2 outs RBI opportunity. Dylan Bundy has been stingy in this situation. The Red Sox have been pretty good.
Well, this is how Bundy gets stingier as the situations increase in leverage.
Yeah, pretty nice right there. 0-53 with 2 outs and a runner in scoring position. That is cracking down.
A couple of high fastballs have Moreland in front, 2-0, and there's a pitch that misses up. 3 balls and no strikes now, with Hanley Ramirez, the DH, waiting on deck.
Well, normally there's no soft spots in this lineup. Moreland's been hot. Ramirez has not. So you don't give in right here with the count being 3-0. You pitch accordingly to the next guy if it doesn't work out.
3 balls and a strike. Yeah, I don't know that there's a soft spot based on the back of the baseball card, but there are cold spots.
Yes.
And you talk about Hanley being cold. Jackie Bradley Jr. has heated up of late, but he had a rough month of May. We've talked about Betts and Benintendi's recent struggles. 3-1 to Moreland. Faded into the opposite field for Rickard, and nothing comes of the 2-out double against Dylan Bundy. Red Sox turned away, a half inning gone. David Price ready to go to work in a scoreless game. lines the Orioles against David Price tonight. Joey Rickard leads it off in left field, and then the All-Stars Jones, Machado, and Trumbo 2 through 4. Chris Davis, an All-Star back in 2013. DHs tonight in the 5 spot. Trey Mancini starts against the left-handed pitcher Jonathan Scope. J.J. Hardy and Caleb Joseph round things out against 5-time All-Star and 2012 American League Cy Young Award winner David Price.
Yeah, David Price coming off his first start, an odd one, but he threw the ball great. He gave up a 3-run homer after losing the strike zone.
Joey Rickard leads things off in the Baltimore half of the first.
And Baltimore has had some early success the last 2 games in the first inning via the home run.
And Rickard has himself a base hit. That ball spinning into left field. Benintendi had to get there in a hurry. Checked up like a pitching wedge out there in short left.
Well, David Price has had a lot of action against, of course, being in the American League against the Orioles. He throws these cutters in. You got to look in and look hard off of David Price. His fastball can explode, but he will rely a lot on his cutter and changeup. And for the guys coming up now, like Adam Jones, he's had a ton of at-bats and a lot of strikeouts against David Price via the changeup away.
Yeah, we'll get into the kind of the repertoire adjustment of David Price as we continue tonight. Here's Adam Jones now with a runner aboard to start things in the last of the first. There's only a handful of hitters in the American League that have faced David Price more often than Adam Jones. Manny Machado next. He's also very familiar with the 5-time All-Star. And Jones pops it up. Ranging off second is Marrero for out number 1. So 1 on 1 out for Manny Machado, who yesterday struck for his 11th home run of the year, and it was one that left some jaws on the ground.
Yeah, he's been struggling, but he got one middle and up. Anything down and off speed, he has really looked bad. He's got that home run swing, it looks like every pitch, but that's one at 460 plus feet. You can't get it all back, right, with one swing, and that's kind of what it looks like Machado's been trying to do. He's been pressing, big swing. We all know about the power. He's had some success against David Price with a couple home runs, but it's been a rough sledding for Machado the last 30 games.
Enters play tonight, just 3 for his last 26. His Price starts him with a strike. And I want to get back to that home run last night, John, because on TV, even to the naked eye sitting in the ballpark, depending on where your seat is here at Camden Yards, it may not look like that second deck is as impressive as it is. I mean, Buck Showalter was telling us today that you don't even see guys hitting BP balls into that second deck. 465 feet away. And Manny has hit a handful of big ones this year. He's the only player in baseball with as many as 3 home runs at 460 plus feet. Believe us, that second deck is set back.
Yeah.
And it is a long way away. A ball and a strike to count from David Price.
If you're David Price, you've been watching the video of Manny. He wants to swing. He's not walking, and he's striking out a lot. So what you have to do is expose him to the pitch down. He will like the ball cutting into him if you leave it over the plate, and that's where some of the success he's had against David Price. But I would look for changeups away or that back foot cutter down, because he has not deviated his swing. He is not taking any other different approach other than trying to have that home run uppercut type swing, and it's got him into a funk.
Behind the ball and 2 strikes with Mark Trumbo waiting next. 1 out and 1 on. Yeah, there are many theories as to what's at the root of Manny Machado's struggles. Still one of the prettiest swings in baseball. Still considered one of the best overall talents in the game, and that's not going to change based on a poor month or even a poor year. Some people feel like in starting his season as early as he did for the World Baseball Classic, his baseball calendar was a little out of whack.
Oh my.
Pitch missed down and in apparently, and it's a full count now, 3-2.
This, I think, catches the umpire by surprise here. Watch this backdoor cutter, but the way he caught it maybe gave the illusion that it was down. but it looks like it catches the bottom of the strike zone according to the box there. 3-2 pitch, still look off speed, I would think.
See if they send Rickard with one away. Price thinking that, checks in with him. Did you see John Lester pick the guy off today?
Yes.
Speaking of
a lot of crazy things happening today.
Baseball anomalies.
I mean, he threw it. It's the only way you could pick somebody off, right? He had to throw it.
I would imagine. And Tommy Pham napping off the bag at first. The Cubs plated a bunch of runs late on a Kyle Schwarber grand slam. Came back to beat the St. Louis Cardinals today. Schwarber was hitting number 9 for Joe Madden today. His struggles most pronounced. The big story in baseball today, of course, is that the game's first no-hitter was turned in Miami by veteran right-hander Edinson Volquez, who no-hit the big-hitting Arizona Diamondbacks and finished it by striking out the side in the 9th.
It's a wow right there.
And Price, concerned with Rickard, checks in on him again. 10 strikeouts, 2 walks, did it in fewer than 100 pitches, and threw the 6th no-hitter in Marlins franchise history, the first since Henderson Alvarez threw one on the final day of the 2013 season. Still full to Machado, 3-2.
Well, for David Price, methodical, deliberate, whatever word you want to use, has one of the slowest times in between pitches for starters out there. He has gotten a little bit slower as he's gotten older, but still a dynamic pitcher with just a little bit of a slower tempo between pitches.
On 3-2 again to Machado, he strikes him out.
This is when you know your timing's off, head may be moving a little bit, because this is an off-speed pitch over the middle of the heart of the plate, and you can just see you can't be in between, you can't be guessing, and you can't be off mechanically. That's a pitch that Manny Machado would take to any part of the ballpark with damage.
So a 2-out runner at first now for Mark Trumbo, a 2-time All-Star. Not quite at last year's power pace when he turned in career highs in home runs and runs batted in. 8 big flies and 28 runs driven in for Trumbo. Through 53 games last year, he was sitting on 17 home runs already. There are those that feel, however, Buck Showalter at the top of this list, that the hot Mark Trumbo is right around the corner.
Yeah.
He's 5 for his last 11 and starting to show signs.
Yeah, absolutely. Heating up in the last 30. And I think, look, in fairness to some of these teams on the East Coast, the weather's been brutal. It's just starting to get good. Hitting and numbers and offense are going to start getting better in these parts of the town.
A ball and 2 strikes, the count to Mark Trumbo.
Because this is a hitter's paradise. And right now they got some reverse splits for me. I mean, the fact that they're the 2nd best ERA at home, being the Orioles, you would never think that's going to withstand, but they're last on the road, so those things are going to flip and even out. But offensively, this home run hitting team, once it starts getting hot, humid, and the ball starts flying out of here, expect their numbers to increase.
Two balls and 2 strikes, the count to Mark Trumbo. Well, I think Mark Trumbo recognized the hitter-friendly conditions here when he chose to return to Baltimore on a 3-year deal that for some people was at something of a bargain rate. A guy who had a huge power year last year and signed for 3 years, $37.5 million to come back to the Birds. He realized how good he had it here, and it's ironic as he takes a ball to fill it at 3-2. It was 2 years ago to the day, John, that he was traded by the Diamondbacks to the Mariners in what was like a forgotten lost 2015 season for him. He had to put his career back together and did it here in Baltimore. Rickard will be running here on 3-2 with 2 gone. Got a very late break. He's not particularly comfortable with David Price's move.
Making sure 2 outs.
So still 3 balls and 2 strikes to Mark Trumbo. Price taking his requisite time between pitches here. You talked about the time between pitches for Price being the longest among major league starters. 26 seconds is the number. Might not sound like a lot. And a swing and a miss by Trumbo. Leadoff single goes nowhere. A couple of big strikeouts for David Price. Still scoreless as we head to the second. By Sprint works for me. A scoreless first inning posted by both Dylan Bundy and David Price. As we settle in for the second, Hanley Ramirez leads things off for Boston. Ramirez, Bradley, and Vasquez, the 5, 6, 7 hitters for the Red Sox. And Dylan Bundy starts the 3-time All-Star with strike 1. Well, Hanley Ramirez with nice numbers against the Orioles for his career, but not so nice numbers as of late for the Red Sox. Just 1 for his last 16. And where a lot of his fans and defenders pointed to a similar start last year before he got hot, there have been some differences this year. In the mind of John Farrell, for one, last year when he struggled, at least he was hitting the ball to the opposite field, and he ended up with a 30 home run season and drove in 111. It looked great by the end of September. That has not been the case this year. Hanley, for whatever reason, has become rather pull happy, and the overall results have suffered.
He certainly has struggled the last couple games, and really all the numbers down.
2 balls and 2 strikes from Dylan Bundy.
And fair or not, they need him to be a beast. I mean, everyone's talked about what they've lost in Ortiz, and they need this guy to be absolutely the threat that his name on the back of his jersey has always given. Maybe some of the adjustment and maybe some of the lack of success being in the DH spot.
A swing and a miss. Bundy's second strikeout of the game. Last year we talked about Hanley Ramirez hitting 30 home runs, and he distributed them all over. 11 to the pull field, 10 to center, and 9 the other way. This year he's at 6, and all but one of them have come to the pull field. That, for a lot of people, is cause for concern. One gone for Bundy as he goes to work on the left-handed hitting Jackie Bradley Jr.
That last at bat shows me the maturity of Dylan Bundy. Watching his previous games against the Red Sox and even Ramirez, he had a lot of sliders away against Ramirez. He attacked him with fastballs and got him out with a changeup. When you're a starting pitcher, you're always thinking of 2 and 3 at bats ahead of time. I know the game's changed and guys only pitch to the lineup twice, but Bundy has gone into the 8th inning twice against this team, which means he's going 3 and possibly 4 at bats deep. So you can't just keep getting these Red Sox out the same way.
Missed inside, and it's a 2-ball 1-strike count to Jackie Bradley Jr., who's hit safely in 4 straight. Pitching coach Roger McDowell watching his prize pupil, 24-year-old Dylan Bundy. In tight to Bradley. 3 balls and a strike. Christian Vasquez, the catcher, waiting next. 3-1 home. A full count now. Well, Bundy, as is the case with the whole league, John, is not just a fastball first guy. His fastball usage and his fastball velocity has dropped not only since he got to the big leagues, but this year alone. First 4 starts, he was averaging 96 miles an hour with his fastball. In his last 4, he has averaged 92 miles an hour with that pitch, yet he has been no less effective. In fact, some would say he's been even better. Here's a full count pitch to Jackie Bradley.
Well, his mechanics, he can repeat his mechanics, and he can throw to both sides of the plate with his fastball, 4-seam, 2-seam. You've already seen his complement of pitches, the breaking ball and the changeup. I think he's got one of the best kept secrets in that changeup.
We'll try it again on 3-2 to Jackie Bradley Jr. Buck Showalter told us something interesting in the meeting today that we actually wanted to look up, in that his staff yields a lot of foul balls, and in Buck's mind it's because some of his pitchers don't have that finishing put away pitch. Bundy happens to have that, by the way, as he finishes Bradley. That's his 3rd strikeout of the game. Not an easy task as we say hello for the first time tonight to Ken Rosenthal to face a big hitting team like the Red Sox, Kenny, 4 times in the course of a month.
No, it's not, Matt, but a couple of things here that will be music to John Smoltz's ears. Number 1, Caleb Joseph, the catcher, told me that the key to Dylan Bundy right now is location. He's one of the few young pitchers who realizes he doesn't always have to have his foot on the gas, doesn't have to throw 95 when 91 on the corners is much more effective. And 2, those 3 previous starts against the Red Sox, we've got some numbers here that will show you just how varied Dylan Bundy can be in his approach. His first start against him went heavy slider changeup. Second start, 50% fastballs. Third start, 60% fastballs. He had a 2.21 ERA in those 3 starts. Pretty impressive for a 24-year-old.
Yeah, absolutely. And in those 2 starts, you're talking about no runs. He gave up a couple runs in Boston after starting the 8th. But I tell you, the one thing that is so impressive to me is the fact that he has learned how to do that. This will bode well for him. He'll have a long career if he wants, knowing he doesn't have to have his A stuff all the time and rely on rare back throw, the velocity, 4-seam fastball. So this guy has been wiser above what the game has said you should be doing, and he'll last longer for it.
Fastball misses to Christian Vasquez, and it's 3 balls and a strike to the Boston catcher, batting with 2 away and the base is empty here in the visitors' half of the 2nd. Pablo Sandoval next. Well, 10 of the 11 starts by Bundy this year have been of the quality variety. I'm not sure if I've ever asked you if you buy that or not. Are you a quality starts guy?
I like it, even though, I mean, in theory, right, 6 innings, 3 runs is a 4.5 ERA. But I like it. I mean, I wish it'd be a 7 inning would be quality starts. Then you'd see the rarity of it existing today. But I think you got to have some kind of goal in mind that when you're starting a game, you've got to get to a certain point. And if you can keep your team in it, that's quality. This guy was talked about as the greatest prospect ever to come out of high school. I mean, he was one of these guys that just dominated and did it with 2 pitches. We talked about, Buck told us that last year they didn't want him to throw the cutter slider, and he had some forearm issues. Now he's got the full range to be what I think a complete starter.
And from that kind of gag order on the cutter slider pitch, a good changeup was discovered. So he was able to spin a positive out of that as he continues working 3-2 to Christian Vasquez.
Vasquez has been great with 2 strikes this year, and you can see why. He's hitting .352 coming into this series. He just doesn't give up and swing from the fences.
Well, the Red Sox as a team have been good with 2 strikes this year. It might not sound like a big number because it's not. But the .212 batting average of the Boston Red Sox with 2 strikes is the best in baseball.
Yep. Most of those times the number starts with a 1 in the batting average.
There's so many weird statistical anomalies with the Red Sox as an offensive team this year. That's lined out to right. Trumbo looked like he had a play on it but couldn't finish with the catch, and more 2-strike success for Boston as Vasquez is aboard with 2 gone.
See, that's just a great approach. That is saying I'm not going to get beat with a fastball. I'm going to stay back on an off speed, and he goes with the pitch and gives himself a chance to reach base with which he did. You can see keeping the hands back even though the body goes forward. Good effort there by Trumbo. That is what's made his approach with 2 strikes so impressive. And it's really an approach that the whole lineup adopts, except for this guy, by the way.
Yeah, Pablo Sandoval's up there to swing it.
He's never seen a pitch he didn't like. And it doesn't matter what height or what depth. He's up there hacking. And he's just trying to get back to, as he's put it, have a little bit more fun than he's been having since coming over here to Boston.
Yeah. Well, to quote the Animal House line, we got a lot of catching up to do for Pablo Sandoval. Came back on the 30th of May and has gone 4 for 9 since, an encouraging sign. He homered yesterday. But the results since leaving San Francisco, well documented, certainly in Boston, haven't really been there yet. Behind 0-2. Joseph crowds him.
He's amazing. I mean, that's a perfect example right there. That once you get a hitter to expand up, there's so many things you can do, but he finds ways every once in a while to hack at these pitches. And this opens up the curveball. They're gonna pound him in, and then if he continues to foul off pitches, they'll drop the curveball on him. I hear they're going with a changeup down.
Sandoval bounces it to the right side. Scopes got it and takes care of Sandoval to retire the side. A runner left stranded. We played an inning and a half to start the night. No score in Baltimore. Proudly brewed across America. This Bud's for you. A scoreless start to the night. Back with Ken Rosenthal and John Smoltz. Matt Vasgersian. We go to the bottom half of the second inning in Baltimore, where Chris Davis leads things off against David Price. Davis, Mancini, and Scope, the 5, 6, 7 Orioles hitters here in the second.
Chris Davis has had some numbers against David Price. Chris Davis has the same type swing almost on every pitch, looking for that one pitch.
Shatters his bat, sends a one-hopper right into the shift for Marrero, and he is a easily retired leadoff hitter in the second.
This swing that I was talking about, if you put it in the right spots, you're going to do damage against Davis, and that was the one pitch right there in. This guy has led all of baseball in homers and strikeouts over the last few years, but if you make a mistake, he's so strong and he doesn't have to generate much. That's why his power numbers are the way they are, but his strikeout numbers, because there's so much holes in the arc of that swing, you can expose it for a high strikeout total. But nowadays, who cares, right? That's what everyone says. Who cares?
That's what baseball is. It's home run, strikeout, walk, and we've talked about it a lot. There's Trey Mancini now. He struck for 7 home runs this year already, including one against David Price last year in his quick call up to the big leagues. Mancini has been something of a home run revelation since ascending through the minor leagues. 10 home runs over his first 26 career big league games. Tried to hold up on the appeal. They say he did, and it's 2 balls and a strike.
Sliders have given Mancini a little bit of problems. He doesn't have problems with fastballs. You see them trying to bury that pitch inside to open out the outside part of the plate.
To 3-1 now. David Price trying to stay perfect at Camden Yards. 6-0 in this building, making his 11th career start here. Jonathan Scope waiting on deck. Vasquez crowds him, and it's a 3-2 count now to Trey Mancini.
John Lester, another lefty, having success here. It's a tough place, man, as a pitcher, to come in here and have success against especially a fly ball hitting team.
And a swing and a miss. 2 quick outs here in the second for Price. We talk about how the Orioles have some momentum, having won 3 in a row. How about the momentum in Houston? Kevin Burkhardt has an Astros Rangers game break. KB, good morning. Houston is, I mean, they're making a mockery of the AL West. 2 gone. Here's Jonathan Scope. I mean, the 40 runs they put up on the Twins in a 3-game shellacking earlier this week. They've won 8 in a row overall. I mean, the Rangers used to be their poison, but that's not a problem for them anymore, as Lance McCullers looks to make it 9 in a row for the Stros, who showed no signs of yielding. Into the shortstop hole. Nice pick by Bogarts. Off balance throw. Got him. A quick 1-2-3 second with a little help from his fine shortstop for David Price. No score in Baltimore. David Price and Dylan Bundy matching one another pitch for pitch. Each starter has struck out 3 through their first 2 innings in this scoreless tie. The number 9 Red Sox hitter Devin Marrero leads things off in the 3rd. Betts and Benintendi to follow. Scoreless early on tonight. And there's a bouncer to second. Fine backhanded play by Jonathan Scope. And the leadoff hitter is retired in the 3rd.
Bundy could use a quick pitched inning as he's racking up the pitches you see right there. And 2 consecutive really good plays, one by Bogarts and now by Scope.
A quick out starts the 3rd, and Bundy threw 42 pitches to keep the Red Sox scoreless through the first 2 innings tonight. And it's back to the top of the order, Mookie Betts. Betts struck out looking on 3 pitches to open the ball game tonight. Just 2 for 20 here at Camden Yards this year. And that comes a year after, as we talked about earlier, really putting his feet up on the furniture here in 2016. 8 home runs, 15 RBIs in 10 games in this ballpark last season. 2 balls and a strike to him.
Yeah, he was on fire. Didn't matter where they were throwing it, but they didn't make a ton of quality pitches. Up over the plate, hands a little bit of a hitch, and he was attacking fastballs and delivering them.
2 balls and 2 strikes.
To me, that's the kryptonite. You got to be able to get him thinking fastball and be able to change speeds. This is a changeup. This used to be a no-no too long ago. Right-handed changeup on a right-handed batter, but it's become a great pitch.
Full count now, 3-2. Well, Ken Rosenthal touched on it earlier in terms of how Bundy has changed his pitch selection in these assignments against the Red Sox. It's really true of any opponent. There's nothing you can track on Bundy. Pop near the 3rd baseline, and therefore it is Machado for out number 2. A lot of first-rounders on the field tonight. It reminds us that it all starts right here with the 2017 Major League Baseball Draft. Coverage begins at 6 p.m. Eastern on Monday, June 12th on MLB Network, and you can watch on MLB.com.
Oh, what seemed like yesterday.
When you were drafted?
So many years ago. 22nd round. What was that, 500 or 300 some players or something like that?
22nd round was when you went. Andrew Benintendi out in front sends a flare out into the pull field and into the stands foul. It wasn't quite the it wasn't really quite the big deal that it is now. And in 1985 there were some big time players that were chosen. In the case of guys like Barry Larkin and Randy Johnson, Hall of Famers. Mark Grace 622 overall, huh? Good changeup swung on a miss that time. B.J. Surhoff number 1 overall by the Brewers. Will Clark taken 2nd. Both of the starters in this one first rounders. Bundy 4th overall in 2011. David Price was chosen 1st overall in 2007 by the Rays. A lot has changed with Dylan Bundy since that draft day, including Tommy John surgery. Benintendi swats a fly ball into the opposite field for Joey Rickard, and it's a eventless 1-2-3 12 pitch inning for Dylan Bundy. standings on this day in June, a division that many people, including our Ken Rosenthal, feel is, if not among the strongest, the strongest in baseball this year, as David Price goes back to work. It'll be J.J. Hardy, Caleb Joseph, and Joey Rickard here in the third. Baltimore, Boston, the Yankees in first place. Toronto has some momentum despite being shut out at home by the Yankees today, and the Rays are hanging around too, with Corey Dickerson leading the American League in batting average among other categories. You could make a case any one of these teams is division championship worthy, and maybe a couple of wild card units coming from this division as well. David Price has been good tonight. He yielded the leadoff single to Joey Rickard and has retired 6 in a row. And Kenny, if we can go down to you on this, when we learned that David Price had the elbow discomfort in March, it was something that he had been through before, but this time it was a little different.
Right, Matt, and if you recall, at the time there was a real concern he might need Tommy John surgery.
It's out to right field for Betts and 1 away.
But what he said and what he found out was that soreness that he had, it's something he has every year. It was just a little worse this year. And he flew to Indianapolis, to the site of the NFL Combine. That's where 2 of the leading physicians were, Dr. James Andrews and Dr. Neil Elatrash. And what they told him was that your elbow is fine. Price said at the time, actually, he was told he had a bionic elbow. He did not need a cortisone injection, did not need a PRP, platelet-rich plasma injection. And he was surprised by that, relieved, and he was also surprised that the doctors just kind of wanted to hang out with him in the hotel room and talk. They told him, you know what, we're tired of giving physicals to those NFL guys.
Just change up our day a little bit. Let's talk about your elbow. 1 gone for Caleb Joseph. When you had your Tommy John procedure, John, did you know it was coming? Was it something that, I know you and I have talked about it before, but for the benefit of our viewers, you had experimented with different means of therapy, and Tommy John was kind of the last choice.
Yeah, I prolonged it for about 3 to 4 years, which seemed like an eternity, but finding ways to throw the baseball to alleviate that pain, even tried throwing the knuckleball. But that back then, there wasn't the kind of hypersensitive issues that we deal with today, where you turn around and everybody seems to be getting a Tommy John surgery. So I just felt go as long as I could, and then when it would happen, I would retire. Thank God I didn't retire.
ended up being okay when you came back, but that's not true of everybody.
Right. It took a phone call actually from Tommy John himself. I was 34 years old. I figured no one's going to wait for a 34-year-old. And he said, hey, I had my surgery at 34 and I pitched 11 more years, hence the successful Tommy John surgery, naming after him.
Full count, 3 balls and 2 strikes to Caleb Joseph.
So it's a concern now because we're talking about it all the time. So any pitcher that has discomfort in the forearm elbow situation, everyone goes, oh no, is it me? Am I having it? And being able to learn how to pitch around it and in through it, I think is gone. Now, if any sign of it, they shut you down.
Popped him up. Marrero's been busy to start this night, and there are 2 gone for Price in third.
And I'm going to say this. I understand it. I understand the caution, but I don't understand the bigger part of trying to figure out how we can prevent it. It just seems like it's a Band-Aid now. Well, it's all right. You get a Band-Aid. You'll be better. The myths of Tommy John are so misleading. And if you're listening to this game and have a youngster at home, it is not a prerequisite to success. It is only a last case and last resort. And unfortunately, more people are thinking that, I have it. I got a new arm. I'm going to be better. Look at the big league guys. The Tommy John recipient is only guaranteed a higher percentage of success to the level they once were at when they have it. That's the key. So when you have it in the big leagues, you already know how to get there and you know how to get back, so your success rate's greater.
2 balls and no strikes, the count to Joey Rickard. Well, I know Red Sox Nation was able to breathe a sigh of relief when it was learned that David Price would not need Tommy John surgery, and that in fact rest and rehab would bring him back at the end of May, which is exactly what happened as he came back on Memorial Day and threw the ball well for 5 innings against the White Sox.
And having been through too many rehabs, I kind of chuckle when everyone goes, oh my gosh, his rehabs were not good, his numbers were not good, maybe he's not. Rehab is a no-win proposition. All you're trying to do is get your pitches in, get the up and down, sit down, go back out. This guy knows how to pitch, and he's proven that he's fine.
2-1 to Rickard is sent out to center field. Routine fly ball for Jackie Bradley Jr. And that's 9 in a row set down by David Price. We head to the 4th in Baltimore. Scoreless. Cast is sponsored by Falcon Tires, the official tire of Major League Baseball, and by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Back with John Smoltz and Ken Rosenthal. Matt Vasgersian. A scoreless tie as Xander Bogaerts leads things off against Dylan Bundy in the Boston half of the 4th. Bogaerts, Moreland, and Ramirez for the Red Sox. Xander Bogaerts has one of the 2 Boston hits against Bundy tonight. A 2-out 2-strike double in the 1st. Continuing the success he has in 2-strike counts. And we talked about that a little after he doubled. Since 2015, Xander Bogaerts leads all of baseball in 2-strike hits with 206, and that's 21 more than the next closest on the list, Arizona's All-Star Paul Goldschmidt. Among league leaders this year as well, as you can see. 3-1 to him now.
Well, there's some contrast between the 2 pitchers. You can see one in Dylan Bundy. Bundy has a classic windup and works quick. David Price, abbreviated windup, works rather deliberate.
And there's ball 4 to Bogaerts, first walk of the ball game.
The one thing about Dylan Bundy and his ability to repeat his mechanics, he's got to have strong legs. He has a little bit of a pause. You know, the arm swing doesn't go consistently, but there's this post up and then there's the little delay and then he goes down through. The only way to have that kind of delivery is your lower half has to be really strong. We'll show David Price's in the bottom half to show the contrast to the difference between 2 pitchers who go about it in a little bit different ways.
There's Mitch Moreland now. He flied out to end the 1st tonight. Bunting and pushing it foul.
I'm telling you, I know I do this every time I see this. But if guys would try to not make a perfect bunt, they would get a hit every time. They're trying to make it. It's you square around, you bunt it. You could laugh, you could yell, you could tell a story and walk to first base because of the split, because of the shift. But see how he's just trying to place it perfectly. All he's got to do is bunt it anywhere between the mound and foul territory. It's an easy hit. I just can't believe more guys don't do it. They got to practice it.
Orioles stay in the shift for him as much of the AL East is against Mitch Moreland. A ball and a strike. Hanley Ramirez waits on deck. Leadoff hitter aboard for the Red Sox for the first time in this game. Bundy walked only 1 in 7 innings against the Yankees on Monday. Very close at first base, and Bogart's just back safely.
Looked like he got in awkwardly and stretched something out there as he goes in. I don't know if it's the chain hitting him in the face.
Looked like he jammed a finger or a hand, and with the other half of their double play combination, Dustin Pedroia just getting back to full health. He took swings today, dry swings, quote unquote, not swinging at live pitching. Still a few days away. The last thing they need is to lose Bogarts, as a swing and a miss puts Moreland behind 1-2. Xander indicating that maybe the fingers got jammed there. A ball and 2 strikes, the count to Mitch Moreland. Bogarts will run. He's stolen 8 bags in as many attempts this year. Boston runs a bit more than the Orioles do. In fact, most teams run a bit more than the Orioles do.
Yeah, it's it really is the true outcomes. The Orioles are following that pattern. Walks, homers, strikeouts.
Although I'll say this, I mean, the Orioles last year didn't run at all. We know that to be true. They stole 19 bases all year last season. The whole team, by the way. So we could do all the comparisons. You know, player X stole more bases than the Orioles have in the last 3 years, things like that. But this year they're on a pace to shatter last year's total. They've stolen 12 bags this year. The Red Sox do run a lot more. 3-2 now.
Well, the Red Sox are athletic. That's what made them so difficult last year. They had power, speed. Of course, a lot of that power has been gone from their lineup. Last currently in the American League in home runs. So that somebody has to step up in that area. But they battle at the plate. They make a pitcher work for everything he earns. And this guy has had some deep at bats already against Bundy. We talked about the 4 times now that he's faced him. He's fouled off a lot. He has a little bit of an open side. He opens up his front side. He'll fight off that pitch, looking for one mistake.
Bogart stays put, and the 3-2 pitch is again fouled away. Still a full count to Mitch Moreland. Another deep count here for Moreland, who has done his best work, by the way, on the road, as is the case with a lot of Boston hitters. Call them the 2017 Road Sox. Kind of defies conventional wisdom, especially for a guy like Moreland, who a lot of the pundits thought would be peppering the Green Monster regularly with extra base hits. Been better away from Fenway this year as he fouls off another.
Yeah, this is looking just similar to 2 at bats. He had 2 10-pitch at bats prior to this against Bundy and was able to draw a walk. And then Bundy got the better of him on a strikeout the second time. This will drive a pitcher crazy. You just as soon take an atom ball, which means a rocket at somebody, rather than go 7-8 pitches deep.
That's the 17th foul ball by a Red Sox hitter tonight. Bundy's not that deep into the game yet. We're only in the 4th.
Taking off speed. He's gone heaters up. He's established that part. See if they go to off speed, try to get a ground ball. They're going to go down with the slider.
Yank foul again.
Problem is he didn't get it down. He got it back in there.
We mentioned how Buck Showalter was lamenting all the foul balls against his staff before the game. The only staff that's given up more foul balls, and that's such a weird thing to track, foul balls, is that of the Minnesota Twins, who belie any conventional statistical wisdom. The Twins are a first place team despite some really weird trends. Foul balls among them. Here's the next one to Moreland, and that's sent into center field for Adam Jones, who had to hop to get to it. And Bogarts has to scurry to get back to the first base bag. That ball had some late life on it.
Yeah, he stayed on a lot of these pitches. You could see Moreland a little bit thinking that this was a better at bat than the result. To change up, and this ball had just a little late carry, and Adam Jones, who's so gifted in center field and really the face of the Orioles.
So 1 out, 1 on. And back to Hanley Ramirez, who was a strikeout victim back in the second. Not even close to a slider.
That's the approach he's had with Hanley. He's been getting a lot of swings and misses on the slider and the curveball. Remember the first at bat, being able to challenge him more to set up this particular second at bat. And that's just good scouting report and good game planning.
I think you can understand why they're getting a little restless in Boston regarding the lineup.
Yep.
Hanley Ramirez has 1 hit in his last 5+ games. He's homered once in the last month and is on a pace for roughly half the power production he was responsible for last season. And it couldn't come at a worse time, as the DH position is entirely his. The Red Sox roster does not provide a lot of options for John Farrell. Oh, and there's what Hanley does best. Into the pull field and gone. Exactly what they're waiting for in Red Sox Nation. A hot Hanley.
Well, maybe Hanley was doing a little game planning on Bundy and sitting on a breaking ball. First pitch, a slider. This was a curveball that hung over the middle of the plate. Didn't clear the wall by a ton, but watch this ball just spin there. It didn't make a turn. Hanley knows it. You would think that's going to be 20 rows deep. It wasn't, but nonetheless, a much needed home run. My favorite park to shag in BP, because you could rob home runs like Adam Jones does on a regular basis here. That one to no avail.
Here's Jackie Bradley Jr. now. Number 7 for Hanley, and just his second in the last month. I always find it interesting in terms of pitch selection there. Dylan Bundy had thrown only 1 curveball tonight before the one that Hanley hit out. In his last start, he threw fewer curveballs than he has all year. So a pitch that wasn't as sharp, that's truly a secondary pitch, that he gets beat on here against a power hitter.
Yeah, it's a field pitch, and that pitch right there being a harder pitch, a slider, saw the 84 miles an hour. That's going to be more off the fastball plane. A curveball is going to be more off a higher fastball. So to your point, he had just thrown a low slider that he swung and missed, went with the fastball, and then came back with a slower curveball that he didn't intend to be over the middle of the plate.
Bradley whacks a base hit into the opposite field. Time for a game break back in Los Angeles. Kevin Burkhardt, are you about to tell us about more late Dodger magic in Milwaukee? They need him. Way to go, Hurt. Stay hot with that. They do need him. The NL West, the Dodgers on top of the pack by half a game over Colorado. So the Dodgers, as KB tells us, they get a grand slam by Chris Taylor to win it late tonight. Yesterday, they got a ninth inning one-out home run by Yasmani Grandal to tie a 1-0 game and then win in extra innings. I mean, this Dodger team is pushing the right buttons at every turn.
Yeah, they are, and they're pushing the right buttons and taking advantage of certain rules that are out there for them. And they have, what, 28 starters, it seems like, and then they put
right.
a couple on DL, and then they come off of DL, and they put another couple on the DL, and they're biding their time while Kershaw just keeps going out there and doing his thing. What a game he had the other day.
Well, I mean, Clayton Kershaw gets to his 2000th strikeout yesterday as Christian Vasquez swings and misses.
We were trying to think of the next guy, or is there a next guy that's going to get to 3,000 strikeouts? Book him, by the way. That's a no-brainer.
Okay.
He's 1,000 away, and he's still young.
He's still young. He's not even 30 yet, and I get it. But I mean, CC Sabathia is the active leader with 27 and change. And though CC's been great this year, at an advanced stage of his career, you're not sure what you can pencil in. Bartolo Colon is next on the active list at 2,400.
No.
He's 44 years old.
He's pitching till he's 48.
So they say. He might be 48 already.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody knows. And Vasquez takes a strike. I think we can say this safely in terms of strikeouts, that Nolan Ryan's number is about as safe a baseball plateau as there is in the record books.
Yeah. And you know what's ironic about that? In theory, it shouldn't be as far-fetched when you think the all-time rate of strikeouts is going higher and higher, but the injury rate is going higher. Pitchers don't pitch as long. You're never going to see a pitcher pitch as long as Nolan Ryan. So to your point, that number's, you could cement it away.
27 years.
That's absurd. I mean, I watched him throw out the first pitch in a playoff game a couple years ago, and I think it was 87 miles an hour.
And on the corner.
Yeah.
A ball and 2 strikes. The count to Christian Vasquez, and he takes time and gets it very late. In fact, so late that crossed up Caleb Joseph. Hey.
Well, that was supposed to be a different. That was supposed to be a different pitch. But when you get the timeout call and you just go ahead and let it go as a pitcher, you don't want to hold back.
Ball and 2 strikes on Vasquez with Bradley aboard and 2 runs in on the 2-run shot by Hanley Ramirez.
See, that's what it was supposed to be. Slider. But he wasn't going to show it once the time was called.
Okay, got it. So instead his catcher has to take it into face. Been a 30-pitch inning so far for Dylan Bundy. Boy, Christian Vasquez hangs around. You were talking about it earlier. He came up with a 2-strike single in the first with 2 away, and he's doing the same thing here on 2-2. He's seen 15 pitches already in not even 2 complete plate appearances.
And this is, unfortunate, the byproduct of facing the team this many times in a short period of time. I mean, you ask any pitcher and they're like, no thank you, don't like it, don't want it.
On the ground is shortstop. Hardy to Scope. Back to Mancini for the double play. They come in 2s in the 4th inning. 2 outs on 1 pitch and 2 runs on 1 swing. Boston out in front early. 2-0 Red Sox. Off base hit to Joey Rickard in the bottom of the first, but has been very stingy since. 9 in a row retired as we start things in the bottom half of the fourth. Adam Jones, Manny Machado, and Mark Trumbo here for Baltimore. Jones popped out in his first try tonight. The 5-time All-Star is Major League Baseball's batting leader with runners in scoring position this year.
They got some impressive numbers with runners in scoring position. Unfortunately, they haven't had any opportunities against David Price.
On the corner to make it 2 balls and a strike. Machado and Trumbo, both waiting this inning, have struck out so far tonight. 2 of the 3 hung by David Price to start the ball game.
Well,
2-2.
We talked about the differences, well documented, as we've already talked about David Price and his deliberate way that he goes about it. But this is what you're going to have right here. This is a windup. I know it looks like the stretch, but it's a short step, condensed windup, and then he comes after you with about 95 miles an hour fastball straight over the top.
Hey, boy, how did Adam Jones get out of the way that time? Full count, 3-2.
Here's the condensed windup. He posts up, slender, lanky, and when he's on with his fastball, good luck to the opposing hitters. You got to get me before the night ends when Adam Jones is not watching baseball.
I was going to do it earlier. I thought I would hold it in my bag a little longer. And there's ball 4 to Jones. So the first walk from Price comes to lead off the 4th and ends the stretch of 9 in a row retired.
Well, Manny Machado this far this season off of left-handers and really off of anybody, off speed is given. There's a fastball, off balance swing, but then here's the changeup, and another off-speed pitch is going to make him look awkward. And I think the biggest thing is when you've had success against one guy, you might feel a little bit better. There's a slider that didn't get in, and then he gets a little bit of cheapy out in Fenway that went around the pesky pole. But earlier today in the 3-2 pitch, he was off balance again on another off-speed pitch, just not connected right there. You see an open stance, not really feeling the mechanics of his swing connected with his hands, his head, and his lower body.
Leadoff hitter aboard for him here in the 4th. Well, Manny Machado's drop in batting average so far this year is the biggest decrease over the last 2 seasons in baseball. Hit .294 last year, down to .211 through his at-bat today, a drop of 84 points. Popped him up. That's playable for Moreland.
See, and that's just right now too much going on where you upstairs you try to feel like one at bat will get me going. Maybe it was the home run yesterday to get me going, but he is not getting the barrel of the bat and the timing of everything. You can just see, even though the swing may look, the path may look the same, when the foot goes down and the hands in the barrel, he's just not seeing the baseball like he used to. It probably looks like a ping pong ball versus the beach ball at times in this ballpark, where he has wowed us with his power and gap, the ability to hit it in the gaps.
It's such a curious thing because he was going gangbusters in April. Mark Trumbo obliges with a room service double play ball that'll make for a quick inning for David Price. We'll continue talking about Manny Machado later. A 1-2-3 inning thanks to the double play ball, and still a 2-0 Boston lead. Pablo Sandoval leads things off in the Boston half of the fifth. Sandoval, Marrero, then top of the order Mookie Betts. Red Sox with a 2-0 lead courtesy of the Hanley Ramirez home run in the fourth. Sandoval grounded second in his first try tonight and finds himself in a quick 0-2 hole, as has been the case for much of the year. Well, the real difference here, just that one pitch to Hanley Ramirez that did the damage. Not to mention Bundy's had to work a whole lot harder than Price.
Well, what's been amazing about Bundy's year is we saw the numbers. They speak for themselves. But what he's done for the bullpen. The start before Bundy, 4 innings the bullpen's been needed. The start after him, 4 innings the bullpen's been needed.
A breaking ball sent into the opposite field for Rickard. Yeah, he's really been something of a bullpen saver every 5th day.
That's huge. You got to have, ideally you want 2 or 3 in your rotation, but for Buck, he'll take 1 right now. Tillman has been that guy for most of the last few years, but Bundy taking over. Tillman starting slow this year due to injury. This is one of those grinder starts. You're going to look back and go, man, I don't feel like I pitched bad. The next thing you know, you go to sit down and you're like, well, I got to be in the 8th, right? I'm in the 8th. And you look up at the scoreboard and you go, I'm in the 5th. But he's thrown 90 pitches and had to work really hard for all of them because of these Red Sox hitters make you work.
1 out for Devin Marrero. Marrero again was a late addition to the lineup when Josh Rutledge was scratched about an hour before game time with what they're calling dehydration from the Red Sox trainers table. There are options at third base. There are options, though not good ones, at second base in the absence of Dustin Pedroia. There's no question they need him back in this lineup. But you just get the sense that John Farrell is waiting for Pablo Sandoval to do something to reclaim that third base spot. They love the young prospect Rafael Devers, but it's not his turn yet. He's just 20 years old in the minors. Marrero is a big-time glove that doesn't have the bat that matches yet, and Sandoval's making a lot of money.
Well, another piece that really they're missing that has been such a spark plug for them has been Brock Holt. Yeah. Holt can fill in a variety of ways, but vertigo has been an issue for him, and his inability to be activated with Pedroia on the DL just puts you in that spot that you just talked about.
And the 3-2 pitch is swung on and missed. Strikeout number 4 for Dylan Bundy.
Well, Bundy doesn't have high strikeout numbers, and you're seeing the evidence of that really tonight. But when he's able to put these kind of pitches off of his fastball, and you see the catcher Joseph loving that pitch, that's the difference. And the one mistake you talked about, that curveball that hung, allowed Manny Ramirez to lift it over the short left field porch here at home run friendly Camden Yards.
Mookie Betts with 2 out and the bases empty. Betts is 0 for 2 tonight and 0 for his last 13. Well, you really go a long way in beating an opponent when you keep the top 2 hitters off base and quiet, and that's been the case in this series for Baltimore. Betts 0 for his last 13. Benintendi 0 for his last 19. As Joseph wears a foul tip that time. It's a ball and 2 strikes.
I don't think I've ever asked you this, but you've been broadcasting forever and you've seen a lot of great places. This is one of my favorite baseball stadiums, period.
I'm right there with you.
It is classic. It's hard to believe it's one of the older ones when you think about it. It was fairly new.
Yeah.
And it's just classic in every regard, and they've had a product here that the fans could be proud of the last 3 or 4 years.
There's no doubt. I'm right there with you as Betts pops one up. Joseph hoping for a play to retire the side. A 1-2 inning by Dylan Bundy. Middle of the night on a beautiful night in the Inner Harbor, and a 2-0 lead for the visitors. Tonight's telecast is sponsored by the Lincoln Continental. Hey, a reminder, vote today, vote tomorrow, vote for your 2017 All-Stars with the Esurance MLB All-Star Game ballot. Vote at MLB.com/vote and catch all the excitement of the 88th Annual Midsummer Classic presented by MasterCard July 11th, right here live on Fox. David Price back to work, putting in an All-Star worthy performance to start that night. Though a broken bat flare off the bat of Chris Davis puts a base runner aboard, just the second hit of the game against the 5-time All-Star David Price.
Man, Davis is like, come on, man, 2 at bats, 2 broken bats, but this one paid him. This one he got inside again, and you can hear the sound, and it's like beating the prevent defense in football, just dropping it in there. Davis so strong.
Now Trey Mancini with the leadoff hitter aboard. There are those that watch and follow the Orioles regularly that would like to see the more aggressive Chris Davis. You know you're going to get home runs. You know you're going to get strikeouts as Mancini pokes one foul. What's alarmed a lot of longtime Orioles enthusiasts is that Davis is striking out looking a lot more this year than he has in years past. It happened to him last night as he was caught looking against Drew Pomeranz.
Well, he's playing in the right era, and he is certainly getting rewarded for it, because in not too long ago, those kind of strikeouts and the exposure to too many spots to a pitcher is something that would have been exposed even more. But his ability to take 45 mistakes and hit it over the fence, getting paid.
2 balls and a strike. And it was Rick Porcello yesterday. I misspoke when I said Pomeranz. And here's the strikeout percentage for Chris Davis at 38-ish%. That's a career high for him. And again, what's alarming is that the number of strikeouts that have come looking, almost half of them. And I have to believe that's a number that'll correct itself by the end of the season. The punch out total is still going to be high. 2 balls and 2 strikes, the count to Trey Mancini. Kenny, as we talk about Chris Davis, you know what you're going to get, and that's the sacrifice you make, the strikeouts for the home runs.
Right, Matt, and he said a week or so ago that he's having trouble seeing the ball. So here's one of the premier hitters on the Orioles who's having trouble seeing the ball. Manny Machado told me before the game that he's had trouble finding his swing, getting into a comfort zone. These are two of their best players, and they're a little bit lost.
In the middle of the lineup has suffered as a result as Mancini strikes out for the second time tonight.
Well, this is what makes David Price so tough. When he's throwing a fastball dotting in the inside part of the plate, no chance. And that's the one thing that you can get from David Price. When he's right and he's dominating both sides of the plate, his fastball doesn't move much. That's why he throws a cutter. I like to see him throw his curveball more, but it's in the eye of the beholder. You got to feel committed to throw that. He'll throw that dead fist changeup.
There's Jonathan Schoop now with the runner aboard and one gone. Schoop trying to extend a modest 6-game hitting streak. It's a ball that just misses low, apparently. A ball with no strikes.
But as we talked about in the open, I think once this team starts clicking, you're talking about 3 pitchers that could shut anybody down. Last year's Cy Young Award winner tonight, and a future Cy Young Award winner in Chris Sale.
Two balls and no strikes.
I mean, of all the teams in the East right now, this is the one team, the Red Sox, hypothetically, if the playoffs were to start today and they were in it, you don't want to face them.
Yeah.
I think that's the one area that makes them dangerous, but they got to get to that point.
Well, they were just starting to like what they were seeing from Eduardo Rodriguez before he was placed on the DL. And there's a chopper to the left side. Tough play for Bogarts. The second, they settled with only 1 out as they forced Davis, and there are 2 out in the inning.
Well, the bullpen for the Red Sox is also going to get some much needed help here in a month. And Thornburg, Smith already got the really good bullpen when you think about the end of it with Kimbrel. But you can't push a button. Everyone's assuming they're going to get clicking and they're going to get going and rolling.
Craig Kimbrel, coming off a brilliant month of May, named the American League reliever of the month as a result. 2 gone for J.J. Hardy now. The 2-time All-Star takes a strike.
J.J. Hardy really struggling at home. You see the low average, but at home coming into this series at 165, and I would think of all the places this would be the least where he would hit under 200.
Vasquez setting up inside. That's where Price misses to make it a ball and a strike. Well, the bottom of the Orioles lineup has been pretty productive when you consider Schoop's come up with some big hits of late. They've gotten big performances out of guys like Trey Mancini. Caleb Joseph's been swinging a nice bat in the absence of Wellington Castillo, who's been even better. But it's the middle of the Orioles lineup that's going to have to make them go. And it's not a good thing when the 3, 4, 5 of this lineup is among American League trailers in combined OPS. You'd never guess that the Machado Trumbo Davis combination would be near the bottom in that category. Only the Rangers, Angels, and Indians, surprisingly, have gotten a lower OPS out of their 3, 4, 5 spots.
And like I said, you would think that's going to change just based on weather, just based on the fact that you don't think that trend could continue with the kind of numbers. Trumbo's heating up.
Yeah.
They need the other 2 to start heating up.
2 balls and 2 strikes to J.J. Hardy. That one gets away from Vasquez, but not far enough away for Schoop to advance.
It's always a tough read for a base runner at first. That's an easier read at second base. You're looking straight in.
Schoop doesn't run much. He's one of the Orioles that prefers the station-to-station game. Does not have a stolen base attempt this year. And with 2 out, Moreland playing off the bag. Here's the 3-2 pitch home to Vasquez, or rather Hardy, which is swung on and missed. Strikeout number 5 for David Price. as he has been stingy through 5 innings tonight. Tonight's telecast is sponsored by MasterPass, the simple, secure way to pay, and by AT&T. Well, Hanley Ramirez responsible for the lone runs of the game and in part responsible for Dylan Bundy's shortest start of the season. Wasn't a bad one by any stretch. He leaves trailing only 2-0. But big pitch counts kind of got the better of him, and 100 pitches. Time to go to the bullpen, says Buck Showalter. He extracts left-hander Richard Blyer to work the 6th. Benintendi, Bogarts, and Moreland, a couple of left-handed hitters among them here for Boston.
Yeah, Blyer, a sneaky left-hander, not overpowering. He's got a nice little slurve that acts as a slider, and then a changeup that has good fade action to it, but he won't light up the radar gun. Just funky enough to keep you off the fastball.
Past Machado into left field. See Manny kind of look up as if to say, man, if I wasn't in such a weird position, that's right at me.
Yeah, he's only there to protect the bunt, because chances are with the way that Benintendi and the shift, see, he's just protecting against the bunt. He's not going to get a play that hits right to him more than likely, and that you never know what gets a player going. Certainly look to that hit. If he catches fire, Benintendi gets back to the swinging ways.
Well, that snaps him out of an 0 for 19. And here's Xander Bogaerts now. He's doubled, walked, and scored tonight. Bogarts bunting foul.
I don't know if his
heart wasn't in that.
I don't know if it was.
It modified kind of butcher boy, like I'm not sure what was going on there. I'm not sure I want one of my best hitters on the roster bunting here anyway. We've been kind of paying attention to Xander tonight because it was back in the 4th, getting back to the first base bag on a pickoff attempt, that he looked like he jammed one of his fingers on his right hand. Strike puts him behind 0-2.
Right where he wants him.
Right.
2 strikes.
Yeah.
Comfortable hitter.
You know, he hits for power on 2 strikes too. We documented how the base hits are no problem for him. But of his 43 career home runs, 23 of them have come in 2-strike counts.
I mean, the approach used to be, at least, you know, playing when I did, it was take your regular swings till 2 strikes, shorten up, shorten your stride, and just try to find the baseball and make good contact. I don't know what the percentage of players today, maybe 40 to 50% don't change their swing at all. It doesn't matter what the count is, and that's why you're seeing such an increased strikeout rate.
We'll check in on Benintendi, who's stolen 7 bases in 8 tries this year. Richard Blyer came to the Orioles in a rare deal consummated between Baltimore and the Yankees. Not regular trade partners. The Yankees traded him here for a player to be named later at the beginning of spring training. And Blyer's a guy who's been at it a long time. Debuted in the big leagues at the age of 29 with the Yankees last year. He was originally drafted by the Rangers back in 2008. A near decade on the farm before getting a big league opportunity last season. A ball and 2 strikes to Bogaerts. One of those late bloomers, Richard Blyer, kicked around a number of organizations. Bogaerts with one back to the pitcher, and a good play, a tricky play, is able to get Bogaerts, who got tangled up with Mancini at the bag.
Might have been the best fastball Blyer's thrown all year on the ball that he threw to first. This ball's hit off the end of the bat. Blyer gets to it as left-handers should, takes a step, turns, and fires over to first. As you said, the throw caught Davis close to the legs of Bogaerts. Mancini, I'm sorry. I'm so used to seeing Davis over at first. He's DHing.
Yeah, that throw just put Trey's glove in harm's way. So a runner in scoring position now for Mitch Moreland, who on the first pitch sends it to Mancini, who feeds Blyer this time for the out. Nice Quinella box between the pitcher and the first baseman the last couple of plays.
That's classic spring training 101. You get the in-betweener that you turn and throw, and then you get the in-betweener where you cover first base. As a left-hander, it's a little more difficult because he's falling away from first base and gets over there. You can beat most hitters if you take that direct path as he did, and then find the bag and the glove and turn to watch the runner, making sure he's not rounding third and going home. And they pitched 4 balls real quick and walked Ramirez while we were away.
Yeah, I mean, if you dropped your head down to pick up some change out of the sofa cushions, you missed the intentional walk. Of course, the modified rule, you don't have to throw the 4 wide ones, and they just said, we're not going to mess with this big right-handed hitter. We'll go to work on Jackie Bradley Jr. instead. I applaud the efforts of Major League Baseball to improve pace of play in that regard, but that is a literal drop in the bucket when you talk about the bigger issues at hand. Runners at first and third. Jackie Bradley Jr. on the first pitch sprays a ground ball to Machado, and the 2-time Gold Glover puts him away to retire the side. Still a 2-0 Boston lead. David Price back to work with his 2-0 lead in check. He faces Caleb Joseph, Joey Rickard, and Adam Jones to lead off the Baltimore half of the 6th inning. The only damage on the scoreboard coming on the Hanley Ramirez 2-run home run in the top half of the 4th. In fact, our game summary sponsored by Budweiser. Shortest start of the year by Dylan Bundy, though he was effective. Just the 2 runs on the home run by Ramirez, but threw 100 pitches in his time. And so far so good for David Price, making his 2nd start of the year and keeping the Orioles quiet through 5.
You know, we just showed Ramirez, and I don't think people understand what's the difference going from a position player to just being the DH. Well, you're talking about a guy that played every day at shortstop, then went to the outfield and played first base. This is a whole new arena for him to just think hitting and not put a glove on.
Joseph with a slow bouncer to Sandoval's got to hurry. Throw to first is in time to get him.
Matty, I'm telling you right now, I don't know if it's the crab cakes, the steak I had last night, or the golf round I had this morning, but my scorecard's legit.
Oh, look at you. Hey, on cue, beginning June 15th, the greatest players in the world descend upon Erin Hills for one of golf's most anticipated events of the year. Dustin Johnson looks to defend his title, but Jason Day, Jordan Spieth, and Rory McIlroy are primed to take golf's ultimate test and be crowned America's champion. The 117th U.S. Open, June 15th on Fox FS1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Big swing from Joey Rickard and a high fly ball into right center field. Jackie Bradley Jr. is there. One of the loudest outs of the night. 2 gone.
Well, just to cap that U.S. Open on a huge dairy farm turned into now a U.S. Open monster golf course. They can go up to 8,000 yards. Depends if the wind blows on how it's going to affect the scoring. Fairways and fescue and a lot of yards.
So you've had some personal experiences there.
Yes, it's some kind of golf course.
Here's Adam Jones now. Jones has walked and popped to 2nd tonight.
For aggressive first pitch swing here out of Jones, I would think. Oh. The unlike Adam Jones, who likes to swing, especially off of his matchups with David Price. They've had probably the most of any batter, I would think, for David Price.
There are a few hitters that have faced him more often. Jacoby Ellsbury. They're all guys you'd consider, all guys you'd know about AL East guys. A little chip shot for Price, who just rolls right along tonight. That's 6 shutout innings for the 5-time All-Star. A 2-0 Red Sox lead. We'll be right back after a word from our local sponsor. Bottom of the order here for the Red Sox in the top half of the 7th as Baltimore will look for an additional inning with Richard Blyer on the mound. He got through the side in the 6th unscored upon. 2-0 Boston. The Hanley Ramirez home run holding up. As Vasquez takes a strike. Well, among the things that have gone right for John Farrell to start the year is the productivity that he's gotten with his catching platoon. We talked about that with John today. He's been most pleased with, between Sandy Leon and Christian Vasquez, not only the options that he has but the performance he's got. Between those two players, the Red Sox have the 4th highest batting average in Major League Baseball at the catching position combined. One-two to Vasquez. And that comes on the heels of a 10-year run where the Red Sox had the 7th lowest batting average out of their catchers. The post Jason Varitek era was not very consistent behind the plate. They're onto a good platoon split here.
Well, they are, and even David Price has had more success statistically with Leon as his catcher, but you can't tell the difference right now as he is hooking up with Vasquez. Vasquez, of course, with that 2-strike swing. See how big it was, and look at his approach change with 2 strikes. Quieter, not looking to lift or yank or pull, trying to stay up the middle.
Some interesting numbers on the catching split. Since 2000, 38 different teams have had an even catching split. That is to say, 2 guys each catching 75 or more games, splitting the workload in half. Of those 38 teams, only 8 of them made the postseason. Vasquez sends a chopper to shortstop for Hardy, routine play, and there's 1 gone. Hey, earlier today, Adam Jones surprised 300 youth baseball and softball players from the Orioles RBI program in Baltimore City Recreation and Park Centers that were participating in a clinic that taught fundamentals of the game through various drills and instructions. Participants received big league tips in pitching, hitting, fielding, and base running. The event was a part of the 2nd annual Play Ball Weekend, a complimentary program of the Play Ball Initiative designed by Major League Baseball to inspire all forms of baseball and softball participation. To learn more about it, go to playball.org.
You know what's awesome about that, and there's a lot of things awesome about Adam Jones, but it's a long season, and he's spending time out there on a game that he's going to play. And given of that time, that is going to make somebody or few people's year, yet alone life, of getting a chance to be around their local hero. So baseball is it's a long game, it's a grueling game, and when you can take time away from it and separate the two, it's great.
Sandoval chops a ground ball to third. Machado has it, and a nice play by Mancini on the receiving end makes for out number 2. Well, speaking about that individual, Adam Jones is, I mean, he's just what you want in a leader, in a player, in a person. He's always been a guy that's given back to the community. He's never taken any of his success for granted. I know that Buck Showalter feels the same way. If you could give him 24 Adam Joneses, he'd take every one of them.
You know what's funny about that is you can't say that about a lot of people where you could say, give me 24 of them and my team's going to be super successful, because it just doesn't work that way. But that's a pretty good statement to make about Adam Jones.
Devin Marrero tried to check his swing but went around. It's a ball and a strike to the Boston second baseman.
Tried his best, but could not hold up.
Marrero sends a sharply hit ground ball to the left side, and it's a busy left side, accounting for all 3 plays in a 1-2-3-7 for Richard Blyer. 7th inning stretch at Camden Yards. The Orioles and Red Sox still 2-0 Boston. Tonight's telecast is sponsored by KFC's new Spicy Crispy Zinger Chicken Sandwich. It's finger licking good. And by Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. 2-0 Red Sox trying to get into the win column in this 4-game series after dropping the first 2. Hey, a reminder, Saturday, it's a great day for baseball on FS1 and Fox. It all starts with the Royals battling the Padres at 4 Eastern on FS1. Then on Fox, Tigers take on the Red Sox at 7 Eastern. Some will see these Orioles battle the Yankees or the White Sox and Indians. Check your local stations for the game in your area. That's a week from tonight, next Saturday. And how about the Yankees? An impressive 7-0 shutout win today. Yesterday, Aaron Judge hit his major league leading 18th home run of the year. And on the other side of town, Michael Conforto has been terrific for a Mets team trying to find its way. We welcome you back to Baltimore with John Smoltz, Matt Vasgersian. Aaron Judge has been a story, but the Yankees as a team have been the biggest surprise in the AL East. They had a 4-home-run inning today in beating Toronto.
Look, they're for real. I mean, the upstart Yankees, maybe rebuilding, maybe a year or two away. Who they're going to go get in the free agent. These guys are showing that not only are they young, talented, but they're there for the whole season. This is going to be a team where you could add on pieces instead of thinking about what it's going to be like in 2 years.
Yeah, Yankees represented on the All-Star game balloting this update. Aaron Judge and Starlin Castro leading their respective positions. Mike Trout continues to lead all American leaguers despite his inavailability to play in Miami next month. And Manny Machado, who leads things off in the Baltimore 7th, leads American League third baseman in a very different looking field. That third base vote as it stands right now, Manny Machado, Miguel Sano, and Cleveland's Jose Ramirez. They're the top 3 vote getters at that position. Machado with a swing and a drive to left field. Benintendi setting up at the wall, and that one's gone.
One of the things I said, you cannot get a pitch going into a guy who has been struggling with pitches down, away, and off speed. This pitch, they try to get it in perfectly. That's the swing plane that he's hitting right now. They didn't get it in, didn't get it off the barrel, even though it wasn't out by a lot. A high arcing home run, and 2 now in 2 days for Manny Machado.
Yeah, perhaps the start of something big for Machado, who's had his biggest performances this year against the Red Sox. And it's just a 1-run game with Mark Trumbo digging in now and nobody out in the 7th. David Price gave up a 3-run home run to Melky Cabrera on Monday in his first start of the year. A solo shot to Machado here tonight. And last year, his first season in Boston, David Price was taken deep 30 times. As good an overall season as he had, there were some big home run results against him as Trumbo swings and misses.
And part of that is because he is aggressive by nature. Even though the fastball percentage has gone down, he's going to throw a lot of pitches into right-handers. So you look in first and deal and adjust away if he happens to go out there. If he commands the outside part of the plate, you're done. So his strength is going to be in with that cutter and fastball and an occasional changeup away, and he just didn't get it in far enough. See, that's the pitch right there. That's the upgrade for David Price. If he goes and dominates, it's because the outside part of the plate, the hitter has to protect inside. And that's, see how he opens up? And all he's trying to do is protect that pitch right there, and he knows he's not going to hit it. He just wants to foul it. And there's the numbers you see right there in the fastball usage going down per year.
More cutters, more changeups than ever before, fewer fastballs than ever before. A changeup continues to be a good pitch for David. We talked to John Farrell about his cutter use before the game. He gets hurt on the cutter, yet he's throwing it more than ever. Opponents hit .319 against that pitch last year. 2-2.
See, and I have mixed results on the cutter. The cutter has usually and was developed for a guy who had a two-seam fastball that moved, that he wanted to keep the hitter from diving on that two-seam fastball. David Price has a four-seam fastball that does not move. It's straight, but it's firm at 95. So that cutter is just another version of the fastball that he's trying to bury in with some movement.
Trumbo with a high fly ball into center field for Bradley. And that's the first out of the inning.
And I think some of his lack of success in the postseason, besides his fact that he wants it so bad, that he's firm, aggressive all the time, and not enough change of speeds to where the hitter knows that he's going to get something hard. And if he can wait it out and get a mistake, they've taken advantage of it. And David Price has had some very unusual, odd luck, I like to put it, in the postseason.
Yeah. Chris Davis now, he had a broken bat single back in the 5th. In fact, David Price has broken 2 of his bats tonight. Well, the cutter's been a good pitch for him tonight. He's thrown 20 of them. The Orioles do not have a hit against that pitch. Monday in his season debut, he threw 26 cutters, and the White Sox did not have a hit against that pitch on that day.
Such a tough pitch right there, lefty to lefty. What he's done to Davis over his career and matchups, he's thrown that changeup off of that pitch, down and in. Here comes a changeup right there, and he swings over the top of it like that. It's so hard for a left-hander to recognize that he's going to throw a changeup that I would think he could go right back to him. He struck him out the last 2 times of film that I watched on that very pitch after establishing the fastball, and then it gives the impression he's going to keep coming in there after jamming him twice, and he's gone to that changeup for swings and misses and strikeouts.
Vasquez setting off way off the plate. Fastball missed out there by design, and it's 2-2. Yeah, you mentioned it. Davis has actually had surprising success against David Price. Davis has been good against left-handed pitching this year, but exactly as you discuss, he separated the changeups with that fastball off the plate and strikes out Davis, his 6th punch out of the night.
Yeah, I mean, there's just nothing he can do with that. I mean, that's an unfair pitch to a left-handed power hitter who's going to swing and expand the zone. That's the one thing I keep saying. When a pitcher looks at the lineup card, he goes, okay, this guy, that guy, never throw him a strike. And that's what you have to do. You have to stick to that game plan. You have to look at even a Manny Machado and go, let him get himself out. Now, I don't want to wake him up.
Here's Trey Mancini now. He struck out twice tonight. And on the first pitch, a chopper for Sandoval. Wide throw, and Mancini safe.
Well, Sandoval did not have to make that throw off balance. He had time to make one more step, crow hop and throw. Wasn't hit very firm, but he just takes it, and as he would maybe 99% of the time, fire it correctly to first base. That ball sailed on him. And they're going to take a look at it just to make sure. John Farrell thinks maybe he kept his foot on the bag, and it's worth a look. That view is going to be close. I don't know if we'll get another angle. The throw takes him to the foul side of first base.
Is the ball in the back of the glove? It looks like it is.
Yeah. That's a tough play for the first base umpire to see live. It looks like there's space between the cleats as he's going the wrong way. Momentum takes him away from the bag. Obviously, it's a lot easier to see it in slow motion and see it in a replay. So that's not a fair assessment of. That's just a tough call.
Not to mention, there's no chance that the first base umpire can be on the home plate side of the bag to watch that.
Right.
And a well-spent challenge for John Farrell, because Jonathan Scopes got home run pop, and he represents the go-ahead run if the call stands.
And he just told John Farrell right there that he's out based on the information that their replay underneath gave them. We'll see if that's what they feel like in New York.
Red Sox have made 15 challenges this year, and 5 of those have been overturned. Call on the field is E5 and a runner at first. They're taking a good long look at this.
Here we go.
Call's overturned. Error comes off the board, and a runner comes off the base pass. The Orioles do cut into the deficit thanks to Manny Machado's 12th of the year to the 8th in a 2-1 ball game. After the Manny Machado home run makes it a 2-1 ball game, and it's back to the bullpen for the Birds. Their second reliever of the contest is the veteran right-hander Ubaldo Jimenez, making his third relief appearance of the year. You can see the numbers. The bloated ERA at 6.66. He'll get Mookie Betts, Andrew Benintendi, and Xander Bogaerts top of the Boston order in the 8th.
Funky mechanics, a little bit of an arm wiggle there. He had once 96, 98 in his repertoire, along with funky movement. Right now he's learning how to pitch at a different level. It certainly has not worked out in the rotation for Ubaldo.
The emergence of Alec Asher, who threw the ball well yesterday, among other things, has conspired to move Jimenez to a new role as he gets the benefit of a wide strike zone there and runs it to 1-2 on Betts. Betts trying to snap out of an 0 for 14. Jimenez relief numbers. He's gone 9 relief innings this year. He's held opponents to a 188 batting average. In the final year of his contract here in Baltimore, in fact 2/5 of the opening day rotation expiring at season's end. Jimenez along with Chris Tillman with deals that take them through this season and no longer.
I know the Orioles have been trying to find different guys to fill the spots, but with the exception of Colorado, I can't think of a worse place for Ubaldo to try and fine-tune his craft, where he's a fly ball strikeout type pitcher, and in this ballpark, much like Coors Field, the ball's going to travel. A lot of home runs.
And it's amazing considering some of his best time in the big leagues came with the Rockies. Betts tried to check it, and it's fouled at the plate. Mookie was walking back to the dugout and thought he was out.
Well, Mookie's going to be interesting this year. When you think about, there's the split finger fastball. When you think about Mookie and the guy that was batting after him, David Ortiz, the protection, the monster year Mookie had. Now he's batting leadoff. He's a dynamic player, quick hands. He had MVP type numbers last year, but he didn't have that protection, so to speak. It's not the lineup presence, even though it's a good lineup, a really deep lineup. You cannot speak what David Ortiz did for this lineup last year.
Full count, 3 balls and 2 strikes.
That's why Ramirez is going to be such a huge part. He has to be Big Papi too.
Betts ropes extra bases into the left field corner. And after the pitching change, the Red Sox have the leadoff hitter in scoring position.
See, and that's the thing with Ubaldo right now. You don't respect his fastball. He can still spin a breaking ball, but he leaves too many of those breaking balls and or splits over the middle of the plate. See how this ball just spins? It doesn't do anything other than rotate in the middle of the plate. Well, to a guy who can keep his hands back and obviously have tremendous exit velocity off of that bat, that is a welcome sign and a relief to get a hit, and many that have not come in the last 3 games.
Betts aboard to lead off the 8th. Andrew Benintendi, the batter now. Well, the Orioles continue to try to find the right role for Ubaldo Jimenez. First offering to Benintendi, who's shortened up, misses low. I mean, Kenny, you wonder how many more roles they can experiment with.
Well, Matt, this would be it. And their hope is that he'll do what he did last year. Pitch out of the bullpen, get himself straightened out, and then, as he did late last season, get on a roll again as a starter. It's not out of the question. It's something he's done before, but in the bullpen, he can pitch only once every couple of days. He further limits Buck Showalter's options.
Good bunt by Benintendi that advances Betts to third.
A little bit of fan battle going on here as the Red Sox coming on the road, starting to make themselves known here in the crowd amongst the orange.
It's just the 2nd career sack for Andrew Benintendi in almost 350 plate appearances.
Well, now he's got his work cut out for a guy who can handle the bat. The infield's going to be in. Bogart's looking for anything up over the plate that he can lift. Normally very patient hitter will take strike 1. I don't know if that applies here. Thinking 1 pitch, middle in, middle up, fly ball or outfield grass.
Well, Bogaerts is without question the guy that John Farrell wants at the plate in this situation. He's been the Red Sox most consistent offensive player this year. He's hit safely in 11 of his last 13 games, including tonight. Trying to pick up Betts with 1 gone in the 8th. Chop to second. Scope's going to come home. Throws not in time. And the Red Sox get their 2-run lead back.
That's why, to me, contact is so important. They put the pressure on the defense. Great read, good athletic jump by Betts. Ball's hit to the right side of Scope. He has to make an off-balance throw. Cannot. I don't think it would have mattered because that secondary lead and move on contact was essential.
Yeah. 3-1 Boston. Runner at first with 1 gone now for Mitch Moreland. That kind of gets back to how the Red Sox, without the pop, they are not a, and we'll get back to it here, the 3 true outcomes, the walk, strikeout, home run crisis, this trend in baseball. The Red Sox rank last in 3 true outcomes. And when I say last, I should say 30th, because it's not necessarily a bad thing. Sure, they'd like to benefit from more home runs, but they put the ball in play, and that's something of a lost art in today's game.
Yep. All you got to look to is the last championships teams that have gone on to win the World Series, and you'll see why analytically that has not fallen in play. That's why the analytic department is rooting for certain teams to win, to try and say, see, I told you it's going to happen.
Quick throw down to first base, not in time as the Orioles pitch out on Moreland.
And my point is because you don't, I know the home run's a big part of the game, and it usually is going to be that instant gratification. But it's rare that a team that wins a World Series leads in home runs or leads in strikeouts or leads in shifts. You can go on and on in certain categories. Kansas City Royals made it their MO. They put so much heat and pressure on the defense. They battled. They took their hacks up to 2 strikes, but then battled and put it in play. You see right there the home runs last for the Red Sox. Strikeouts in the league.
Yeah, these are the trends that have led to almost the epidemic of the 3 true outcomes. Highest home run rate in baseball history. More strikeouts than ever before. Walk rates are way up.
But see, my point is, like, if Bogaerts wanted to be selfish and try to hit a double or a home run and try to expand his swing and get bigger, he's more apt to pop up and strike out. He tried to go up the middle. He did what he had to do, put contact on. He got an RBI out of it. Matters.
Ball to 2
Hashtag
strikes.
matters.
Hashtag matters. John Smoltz is going to go on an angry Twitter campaign, even though you're not on Twitter, as far as I know.
I'm not. I don't even know how hashtag works.
Way to go. Way to stay relevant for the kids, though. We all respect that. Still a ball and 2 strikes on Mitch Moreland. There goes Bogaerts, and Moreland fouls it away.
You can get a huge jump on Ubaldo. He takes a long time getting the ball to home. 2 strikes. The hitter has to protect the plate, obviously. Foul ball master Moreland.
Yeah, Mitch Moreland and Christian Vasquez, between the two of them, more or less responsible for the short start by Dylan Bundy tonight. Jimenez again out of the stretch, and again Moreland fouls it away.
Back in the day when the game was invented, well before what we have today, everything was a fair ball. That was in play right there.
What?
Way back in the day.
In the stands?
There were no stands.
A swing and a miss, and Moreland finally succumbs for route number 2.
Can you imagine that?
You just went from Twitter to pre-Abner Doubleday
That's
stuff.
right. That's right.
The prevailing moment of the game is sponsored by the Hartford, and it's courtesy of this man, Hanley Ramirez, who slugged a 2-run home run in the 4th that gave the Red Sox their first 2-run lead of the game. Snap Hanley out of a 1 for 17. And maybe gets him going in the right direction. As we talked about earlier, it was around this time last year that he got it going. Two-out runner at first, a run in here in the 8th. First pitch from Ubaldo Jimenez is fouled away. Takes the mask off of Doug Eddings.
That was a vicious cut. There's a famous leg kick. Foot down.
Hanley is built like a linebacker. I mean, he is just a big, strong man, and it gets harder and harder to remember his deft days at shortstop with the Marlins.
That's why it's going to be interesting for me to see where Correa ends up, what he fills out into. Corey Seager, another big shortstop. Of course, Manny Machado, shortstop, now third baseman.
Well, the days of going from shortstop to center field are no longer around. Not the Robin Yount route. It's from shortstop to a corner. Bogarts runs, and that's past a diving Machado into the left field corner. Bogarts being waved around. He'll score without a play, and Hanley's big night continues.
A lot of people are going to ask the question, see that fastball comes back over the middle of the plate. When you have to use your bullpen every single night, you can't keep going to the same horses all the time. And Buck Showalter, usually with his steady pitcher in Dylan Bundy, gives him 7+ innings. Tonight, the Red Sox made that a bullpen game by their approach at the plate.
Jackie Bradley Jr. now converted on a hitting streak and ran it to 5 in a row with a 4th inning single tonight. Hanley's been Boston's big bat in the lineup tonight. 2-run home run and an RBI double. Well, the Red Sox able to turn things around tonight against a team that had been so good at home. The Orioles, an American League best, 19-8 here at Camden Yards. They'd really had their way with the Red Sox this year as well, winning 7 of the first 11 head-to-head in their season series.
4-game series are so difficult. You don't see a whole lot of them, but you don't see a whole lot of sweeps either in a 4-game series.
Well, the schedule quirk will find 13 of the 19 played this year between these two division rivals done before the middle of June.
Yeah. I don't even want to get on the schedule kind of issues that are out there, but I hope that gets fixed.
I mean, that's just a quirk, though, right? Some of those are just tough to avoid.
I guess.
I think it'd be too hard to just separate all the division games evenly.
But interleague has a lot to do with it. You've had already a ton of rainouts this year. That's why attendance is down a little bit. And you have a lot of makeups because you're playing teams that you don't play again. So you have to find that off day that both teams have. And I just think there's a better way. I know I've heard all the excuses of the computers and how that's got to be done. Everyone gets home weekends at certain times of the year, but interleague has a lot to do with some of those quirks.
Bradley still in there on 2-2. Well, to get 162 games in a 180-day window means that over the course of a 6-month season there are 3 days off per month. The challenge of the major league schedule is beyond that of any other professional sport. Still 2-2 to Bradley. You know, that all changes next year. They'll hope to alleviate some of this by starting the schedule earlier. Last week of March.
Minnesota will be happy. Chicago will be happy. New York, Boston.
Be some more off days to try to alleviate some of those problems. A full count now, 3 balls and 2 strikes. So the days will go to it'll be 187 days in which the 162 need to be completed starting next year. There's ball 4 to Bradley. A reminder, MLB.tv every night, every device. Watch every out-of-market regular season game live, plus get a free subscription to At Bat Premium, the #1 live app for baseball. Blackout and other restrictions may apply. Visit MLB.tv for details. And here comes Roger McDowell to visit with Ubaldo Jimenez. Fans getting a little restless
I've heard one idea. I don't know. Get your take on it. Sundays off and more doubleheaders, like once a month.
Yeah. There are a lot of people in the game, Mike Scioscia among them, the Angels manager, who advocate the increase of doubleheaders just as a way to alleviate some of the problems. Sundays off. I don't know about that. Really?
Well, one day off, whatever it is, one day of the week. Sundays usually you're talking about football at the end of the year, competing with football.
So the same day of the week, every week is a day off.
Yeah. There's ways to accomplish this. I'm telling you. Just got to think a little outside the box and get away from certain things that used to be not just the way it was.
Yeah. Here's Christian Vasquez now with runners at first and second, 2 runs in and 2 away here in the 8th.
Weather definitely has really affected the start of this season for a lot of teams.
Yeah. Well, the Orioles are going to wear it this year, and Buck Showalter doesn't offer this as an excuse, but it is a reality that because of a rain out in May, they're going to have only 1 off day until the All-Star game.
It'll be rough.
And they end the season, I believe they end the first half with a long road trip. Yeah, the good news is better things come to you by way of the schedule after the break, but just getting there is going to be a real challenge. A ball and 2 strikes, the count to Christian Vasquez. And any Orioles going to the All-Star game, and Manny Machado right now leads All-American League third baseman in the vote. Their last couple of weeks prior to Miami, they have 13 games in 16 days on the road. Then you go to Miami for the All-Star game. Then you come back and have at it again. I mean, that's a pretty grueling 3-week period.
Been a grueling inning for Ubaldo. He'd love nothing other than to get out of this now.
Big swing and a miss. That ends the top of the 8th. Not before the Red Sox can add 2 more to the bottom of the 8th inning. Boston now in front 4-1. It's on FS1 after all the action on the diamond. The best team of analysts in baseball gets you caught up on a full night of action around the big leagues on MLB Whip Around. Weeknights 11 Eastern on FS1 or watch it live on Fox Sports Go. See how long it takes Eric Karros and Frank Thomas to take down a plate of ribs on Whip Around on FS1. Jonathan Schoop leads things off against David Price, still out there in the last of the 8th, bottom third of the Baltimore order. The Birds now down by 3. Price has been magnificent tonight in his 7+. Only the Machado home run, the only blemish on an otherwise perfect scorecard. A couple of singles mixed in between. Just his second start back. And a ball and 2 strikes on Jonathan Schoop.
As the game goes on, I think the touch on his changeup gets even better. And this is important to note. When you get back to where you want to be after rehab, I really believe 3 starts is all you need to just feel comfortable of your every 5-day routine, getting used to that soreness again.
It's understandable the concern and the kid gloves with which Price was handled after reporting the soreness. I mean, there's over 200 million reasons why they'd be concerned with him. They made a major investment in him when they brought him aboard prior to last year. Schoop swings and misses. Ball gets away from Vasquez, and Jonathan Schoop's going to beat it out and reach first base.
Ball has tremendous late movement. Look where he wants it. Look where it ends up. See the ball that takes the glove almost away as Vasquez. And that might be it, as Sean Farrell is going to be happy with this performance.
7 strikeouts, only the 1 run on the Machado home run. David Price in line for a win tonight as he is removed here in the last of the 8th. Boston's first pitching change of the night. Joe Kelly summoned from the Red Sox bullpen. We'll be right back. Telecast is sponsored by the all-new Chrysler Pacifica, imported from Detroit, and by Zysol. For continuous 24-hour allergy relief, take new Zysol. There are constant images and reminders of the greatness of Cal Ripken, among others, here in Baltimore. Orioles on the bat end, if you're an Orioles fan, of a 4-1 score. Red Sox Nation liking what they're seeing, trying to get into the win column in this series for the first time, and Joe Kelly will help deliver that. A 4-1 lead in check. A runner aboard, however, for Baltimore here, and J.J. Hardy batting with nobody out.
Triple digits you might see out of Joe Kelly. Firm fastball, to say the least. Discovered a slider in the playoffs last year to help get the hitters off of that fastball.
Scope reached first base on a pass ball strikeout. That was the last batter faced by David Price, so Scope his responsibility. But Price was fantastic tonight. Just the 1 earned run on 3 hits, struck out 7, walked 1 batter. Kelly pitched last night in game 2 of the series, got the final out of the 8th inning. On the ground to second. Marrero tags Scope, throws to first for the double play.
Well, Scope did what he had to do. That's the only thing you can do once you've committed yourself as a runner towards the baseline. You try to get down and make it as difficult as possible on the second baseman. Slide, he's got a tag, and then throw, a little more difficult, but he gets it done. Kelly just overpowered Hardy with that sinking fastball at 98.
So 2 out, bases empty now for the pinch hitter Hyun-Soo Kim. Kim's hit safely in 4 in a row, though that streak has been kind of intermittent, as opportunities for Hyun-Soo Kim have not been as abundant as he may like. Drove in a run yesterday with an RBI double. The first Korean-born player in Orioles history. He turned into a big player for them down the stretch last year.
He did, and it's a unique batting stance and style where almost the hands stay back. Last minute he's able to pull the trigger. Lower half does what it does. Little leg kick. Kind of looks like he bails. He finds the barrel.
He's going to have to dial it up here. 100 miles an hour on that swing and miss. The only reliever in baseball with a bigger average fastball velocity than Joe Kelly is St. Louis's Trevor Rosenthal. A ball and 2 strikes to Kim. Wow. 102.
Kelly just trying to mess up the timing of Kim with a little bit of a pause of his own, and threw the hardest pitch. There's that little double leg kick.
Oh man. Doug Eddings has taken a beating tonight, but that one in particular really stings.
I think he would screw him in the ground with a slider or a curveball down to the back foot. It's tempting to, you want to stay with that 102 or 101, but see what he does.
Heater.
He pulled it.
Kim was a guy last year. Remember, the conversation around him was when he came over from Korea, he had a terrible time in camp and had a terrible time early in the season with the fastball. He couldn't dial it up for the kind of velocity here in the big leagues. Once he got more used to that velocity, the Orioles took a long time with him. He was a much better hitter. But you don't hear that very often. The one thing that most guys can do at this level is hit the fastball. And Kim fights him off and dumps a 2-strike base hit into right field.
I'm telling you, he had him set up for anything breaking. When you can get to 101 or 100 up and in and foul it off, you're hunting that fastball and doing a nice job. And it's an odd swing, but like I said, he keeps his hands back. It doesn't look pretty. The foot's down quicker with 2 strikes. telling you what, coming off the bench right there, facing 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
After those 3 in a row, out, it bounced.
You were right. I just said heater just for the sport of it. Here's Joey Rickard now, and a fastball starts him with a strike. Well, the double play ball off Hardy's bat makes it a less threatening situation. 2 out, a runner aboard, and a 3-run lead. And it's 0-2 on Joey Rickard. That's just unhittable. 99 on the corner.
Now, based the way he took those 2 pitches, you stay firm.
Kelly wants to avoid giving Adam Jones a chance as the potential tying run. He waits on deck. 0-2 the count to Joey Rickard.
Go opposite.
Breaking ball.
Catcher's got to help you on that, I think.
Shake.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to recognize what the hitter's doing and not even recognizing a fastball. They're going slider again.
That's going to be a tough play for Kelly. He's unable to get it. And Adam Jones will have a chance as the potential tying run in the 8th.
I mean, all he did was give him a chance by throwing that pitch. He couldn't even pull the trigger on a fastball. The first 2 he took, he was basically telling you, good luck, I can't see that pitch. And it gave him an opportunity to put the ball in play. And that's going to be it for Kelly. It's backwards the last 2 batters with 2 strikes, in my opinion.
Second pitching change of the inning for the Red Sox with Adam Jones scheduled. John Farrell's going to the bullpen for his closer. A pitching change, and we'll be right back. Greatest players in the world descend upon Aaron Hills for one of golf's most anticipated events of the year. The 117th U.S. Open begins June 15th on Fox FS1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Well, Joe Kelly leaves under a bit of duress. A couple of base runners aboard. 2 away. A 3-run lead, but for the second time in a week, Craig Kimbrell may be asked to record a 4-out save, John.
Well, he is absolutely the Terminator right now. And what I love about this matchup, it's the cat and mouse, the guessing game. Tying run at the plate, fierce fastball, 98 to 100, power curveball. And if you're Adam Jones, what are you thinking? Do you think, he's going to try to challenge me right away, or I'm going to sit on a breaking ball? This is why Craig Kimbrel is so tough. He's got 2 deadly pitches. He basically strikes out everybody he faces in the last 54 times they've come to the plate.
He is on some unbelievable run. Jones, for his purposes, has Rickard and Kim aboard. And Adam represents the tying run here in the last of the 8th. Fastball swung on and missed. Jones again, Major League Baseball's leading hitter with runners in scoring position. He bats at a .467 clip. Has not faced Craig Kimbrel often, just 0 for 2 strikeouts in both of those appearances. A ball and a strike to Adam Jones.
Well, the key to the dominance for Kimbrel is when he can command his fastball, forget it. The only chance he gives you is his fastball command gets a little sideways. He's only had 1 walk in those last however many appearances, and the strikeout total is absurd. So if he's commanding his fastball, the hitter has to pray that he hangs something over the middle of the plate.
Fastball knee high at 99 to put Jones behind 1 and 2. Talking about the run that Kimbrel is on. Since April 23rd, he's made 15 straight scoreless appearances. During that time, he has struck out 28 batters and has allowed opponents to go 2 for 48. And likely headed to the All-Star game for the 6th time in his 8-year career.
See Vasquez trying to stand up and get that high fastball. It's one thing that Adam Jones, he can hunt the fastball. He can also expand the strike zone. He's standing up, gets it where he wants. I don't know what else you talk about if you're Vasquez going out there. He hit the spot. The angle at which he throws the fastball is so much different than when Joe Kelly throws the fastball at the same velocity. To the hitter, it appears way firmer.
He got him. A big strikeout from Craig Kimbrel preserves the 3-run lead and sends us to the 9th in a 4-1 ball game. Offense and good defense by Xander Bogaerts. Let's take you back to the second inning for the Grip the Moment, sponsored by Falcon Tires, the official tire of Major League Baseball. A nifty play by Bogaerts in the shortstop hole, part of what's been a good overall evening for the Red Sox. Pitching change for Baltimore on their third reliever of the game. He is the left-hander Donnie Hart, who will get Sandoval, Marrero, and Betts here in the ninth.
Left-hander, lower release, as you see right there. Pena now behind the plate.
Francisco Pena taking over for Caleb Joseph, who was pinch hit for last half inning. This is one of those increasingly rare appearances for Pablo Sandoval as a right-handed hitter, John. And easing him back, the Red Sox have made it pretty clear that most of his opportunities are going to come against right-handed pitching, the switch hitter batting left. But he's able to turn it around and face the southpaw reliever here. Two balls and a strike to count to Pablo Sandoval. Well, the big story in baseball on this Saturday, Edinson Volquez striking out 10 in a no-hitter for the Miami Marlins. A franchise history rich with no-hits, no-hit performances, that is. And Kenny, it came on a day where Edinson Volquez decided to pay tribute to somebody.
Well, Matt, baseball has a way of touching your heart at the times you least expect it. And today, on what would have been Yordano Ventura's 26th birthday, classic example. The day begins with this tribute from Volquez to Ventura. Miss you, brother. Happy birthday to Ace Ventura. One love. And then Volquez goes out and throws a 98-pitch no-hitter against a good-hitting team, the Arizona Diamondbacks. And afterward, Volquez said he dedicated the moment to both Ventura and the late Marlins pitcher, Jose Fernandez.
A high infield pop handled by Jonathan Scope.
And you know what's interesting about that, in the first inning, I believe he had an awkward play where he heard a little soundbite that he thought he broke his ankle. And
broke?
Yeah.
Really?
But he didn't, obviously, and everything was fine. Stayed in the game, pitches a no-hitter. So what a performance.
Yeah, first no-hitter of the season comes from Edinson Volquez, who had not enjoyed a great start to the year. Let's be honest. But he does it in only 98 pitches. That's the fewest pitches in a no-hitter since Philip Humber's perfect game against the Seattle Mariners back in 2012.
Gets a very good lineup, by the way.
No doubt. No doubt. Devin Marrero now with one gone. A strike at the knees puts him behind 0-2. When the Orioles bat in their half in the ninth inning trailing, they'll have the middle of the order: Machado, Trumbo, and Davis. And it'll be an additional inning for Craig Kimbrell, who was brought out to cool things down in the eighth. By the way, Craig Kimbrell last year entered 5 games in the eighth inning. The Red Sox have already used him in the eighth inning on 4 occasions this year, and we're just into June.
Well, it goes to when they're going to be right and they have more depth in the bullpen. That won't be the case, but they've needed to bank some wins because they have been struggling up into this recent run. What better way than Mr. Automatic?
2 balls and 2 strikes to count to Devin Marrero.
But that was all predicated, really, if you think about it. I mean, Joe Kelly could have had a clean inning.
Yeah.
And he just gave a couple hitters an opportunity, and they didn't miss.
Marrero shoots a ball into the right field corner. More 2-strike success for the Boston Red Sox.
The other thing that people don't take into consideration when they think, you know, dominant relievers should be robots and come into any situation, as we see this two-strike approach go inside out, is the fact that when you come out of the pen, especially as a closer, you have a tremendous amount of adrenaline to finish the game. When you come in the 8th, that adrenaline's still there, but then you got to sit down. And it's much more difficult to have that adrenaline go back out. Let's say this is an inning that goes 5 minutes longer. Those kind of scenarios is a little bit different, and not everybody can treat them like everyone else would be who's used to getting up in the 5th or 6th or 7th and just entering a game. Because your closer, you want to be the most dominant guy on that staff, and you want him to be the most dominant guy to get the last out every single time. Period. But that's not the way the game's trending, because they think you can use the most dominant guy in the highest leverage situation every single time. Not possible.
Ball and a strike to count to Mookie Betts. 4 runs on 8 hits for the Red Sox. And just to get back to that 2-strike success story, 6 of their 8 hits have come in 2-strike counts tonight. Again, as a team, the Red Sox are the best 2-strike hitting lineup in baseball. It's been a big part of their 4-1 lead tonight. Andrew Benintendi waiting next. Chili Davis could hit with 2 strikes. He could hit right-handed. He could hit left-handed. He could hit for power. He could hit for average.
He could scare the dickens out of a pitcher when he stood at the plate.
Back up the middle and into center field for an RBI base hit. Well, Mookie Betts has come alive late in this ball game. He has snapped out of an 0 for 14 with an 8th inning double and now a 9th inning RBI single.
Just lights up when there's runners in scoring position, does Mookie Betts. And he doesn't disappoint again. Stays right up the middle, stays on the pitch, doesn't try to pull it, pitches away, he goes with it, and an RBI. I'm impressed that I still have a clean scorecard. Do you know how rare that is with the way that my brain works?
That's a little easier in the American League without the double switches.
I don't even mess with pitching changes or double switches. That's why I look over to your perfectly manicured card every night.
Mine's a little messy usually as well. A ball and no strikes is to count to Andrew Benintendi, who has singled and sacrificed tonight. Perhaps the starting of something positive for Benintendi, who got here on an 0 for 17.
See, to me, when a guy, even if he's struggling, let's say he's just not buying any luck with hits, but when he starts taking pitches like that and he starts tracking pitches better, that is what would be an encouraging sign for the Red Sox.
2 balls and a strike to Benintendi.
Because one of the things earlier in the year, even though he would have success away serving it, not hitting it with power, they were like, that's not your zone, that's not your pitch, you got to look to drive pitches over the middle part of the plate. And he was taking pitchers' pitches and hitting them the other way, and I think that indirectly has gotten him in a little bit of a funk, because now they start beating him in with fastballs.
2-2.
The bottom line is every hitter, every pitcher, every young player who's ever played the game, even Mr. Judge and Mr. Sanchez in New York, are going to go through funks. Aaron Judge did it last year. He'll go through another one. No one's immune from it, exception of maybe Mike Trout.
Well, there were big expectations on Benintendi this year. There's a bouncer for Scope and a double play ball that'll wrap things up in the 9th. Not before the Red Sox can add another run, and the hole a little deeper for the Baltimore Orioles as we go to the last of the 9th inning. The middle of the order against Craig Kimbrell with their Orioles' last chance. Pirates have their best chance in terms of the lineup with the middle of the order. However, there's a matter of a 4-run lead and Craig Kimbrell to deal with here. Kimbrell came on and recorded the final out in the last of the 8th. He'll give Manny Machado to start out the 9th. Machado is homered tonight. Number 12 coming in the 7th inning. Really only offensive highlight for the Birds tonight. And a fine play by Jackie Bradley for out number 1.
Wow. That ball changed directions a couple times. Jackie Bradley, certainly known for his defense. Watch this ball, and then almost at the last minute, tumbling down, and a 1-pitch out, which you love to see out of Kimbrell.
Mark Trumbo now. Trumbo's been held hitless tonight. He struck out, grounded into a double play ball, and flied to center. Series concludes tomorrow. Sunday matchup, which is a really good one. Chris Tillman and Chris Sale. And a breaking ball catches the corner, and Mark Trumbo looks back at the home plate umpire Doug Eddings and says, I have no chance.
I mean, those numbers right there will tell you. 0 for 47 versus right-handed batters.
I mean, there's not even hard contact being offered against Kimbrell these days. That out off the bat of Machado, that was just the second line drive he's given up in the last 56 batters he's faced. When a line drive out constitutes a rally, something's going very right for the guy on the mound. Here's Chris Davis on deck, and here's the 0-2 home to Trumbo. So we mentioned earlier tonight, and we've talked about it, the Yankees were winners this evening. Earlier today, they beat the Toronto Blue Jays up at Rogers Center, enjoying a 4-home-run inning as that powerful Yankee lineup just continues to surge. 32-21 atop the AL East. A bouncer up the middle and through.
I knew it. It's like the guy hasn't missed a free throw in 14 games playing.
And a 2-strike base hit, no less. So now Chris Davis 1 for 3 tonight. Doesn't get any easier for the Baltimore lineup tomorrow against Chris Sale. He'll be looking for his 7th win of the year tomorrow afternoon.
You know, it's amazing. Pitching is just no rhyme or reason. Chris Sale, first 6-7 games, unbelievable. Team couldn't score many runs.
Yeah.
Now he's been on the good side of giving up a few runs and getting a few runs and things working out. 6-2 on the year. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, Price, Sale, Porcello. That's not 3 guys' names you're going to want to hear, even though Porcello has not been the Cy Young Porcello. Giving up a high average batting average against. I still maintain that's still not 3 guys that hitters meetings are going to go, yes, we get to face these 3 guys.
Well, the Dodgers and the Red Sox, the first 2 teams that come to mind when you talk about being able to overcome pitching injuries. Dodgers are deep at that position. So are the Red Sox. Maybe among the reasons they were favored to win each of their divisions. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Chris Davis. Back in 2004, and that vintage of Red Sox team is referenced a lot for obvious reasons. They had 5 pitchers make all but 5 of their starts that year. the same group. A wave and a miss by Davis, and the Orioles are down to their final out tonight.
Well, the approach is going to be the same. They don't use their bullpen a lot, so that's a recipe for success. You rarely see, with the exception of the Dodgers last year, where a high usage of bullpen gets to the postseason. It just doesn't happen at the rate that at least the Dodgers were at, all-time record. So your starters give you the quantity of innings and the quality, hopefully. And bullpen eats up about 300 to 500 innings. And that's a good formula for success.
A ball and no strikes to Trey Mancini. Machado lined out. Trumbo bounced a single up the middle.
See, that should have already been worked out. That little meeting right there.
It's a quick meeting.
Yeah, but still.
Well, I can't imagine they're worried with a lead, the likes of the one they have, a 4-run lead. Just because there's a runner at second now, there's no. What are they rolling over signs? Because they don't want Mark Trumbo to steal signs in a 4-run game with 2 out in the 9th.
That's just reminding them of the signs.
A ball and a strike to Mancini.
See, I gotta, you know how a dog has an invisible fence? Can't go outside the lines.
Is that your suggestion for pace of play?
For certain catchers, they have to wear it.
Okay.
And if they just need to be trained. And they come back.
Come back here, Ryan Hannigan. Or whoever. Just missed the corner at 100 miles an hour, and it's 3 balls and a strike to Trey Mancini. Jonathan Scope would be next if this one gets an at-bat deeper. And Baltimore's down to their final strike.
3,100 miles an hour. Go get it. You can't get big at the plate when you're facing Kimbrel. You got to be as short as possible and hope to use his power as your leverage. Good luck.
The 3-2. About the only thing to go wrong for the Red Sox tonight is the base hit by Trumbo, ruining the perfect stretch of plate appearances against right-handed hitting for Craig Kimbrel. It started with the 2-run home run by Hanley Ramirez, and the Red Sox haven't looked back. Added 2 more in the 8th, 1 in the 9th. The only damage for Baltimore, the solo shot by Manny Machado. The next 3-2 pitch. Mancini out to right field on a ball that's well hit. Betts looks up and it's off the top of the wall. Trumbo scores. Mancini into second. It's a 5-2 ball game.
This is the only way you have a chance. He's shortened up 3-2. Used the power fastball. Didn't try to pull it, and he almost hits a home run. See how it looked like he barely swung.
Well, he just missed getting that out of here.
Good try by Betts. That would have been a tough out right there for the Orioles.
Oh, last out of the game on that. Yikes. Well, Jonathan Scope does have a chance to bat after Mancini's RBI double.
Well, here's another reason why they don't take into consideration, and most people tell you, oh, what's the difference? You got to win the game. Well, you bring him in a 4-out situation. Things don't go clean in the 9th. You risk him not being able to pitch tomorrow. He's approaching 24, 25 pitches now. And if nothing else, the the battle that the Orioles are putting on creates a tougher chance for Kimbrel to come back tomorrow.
We talked about the impressive stretch of scoreless outings against Craig Kimbrel. That's the first earned run he's allowed since the 3rd week of the season.
Right now, I'm going to push the button. Come back here.
Well, Jonathan Scope, and as we talk about often with him, he's a big reverse splits guy. He does his damage against right-handed pitching. 7 of his 8 home runs this year have come against right-handers, and that's been the case throughout his career. Career average 40 points higher against right-handers. Three balls and no strikes. And there's ball 4, and the tying run is going to have an opportunity to come to the plate. My, what a turn this game has taken. Pitching coach Carl Willis is coming out to chat with Kimbrel. The Orioles are going to pinch hit for J.J. Hardy with Seth Smith. Smith has homered in this series.
I'm not saying this is what Kimbrel has done, but his save was in the 8th, right? He gets the big strikeout. Red Sox score a run, extend the inning. A little bit different adrenaline rush.
Yep.
4-run lead. Innocently, man on second, 2 outs. The game's basically over. And now the tying run's at the plate. This would be an interesting scenario for Smith after seeing 4 fastballs that were called for balls, to sit on a first pitch fastball and let it go and take your chances. The only way you look super foolish is if he spins that breaking ball on the first pitch after 4 straight balls. Coming off the bench, facing Kimbrel.
5 career plate appearances for Seth Smith against Craig Kimbrel. He's 0 for 5 with 4 strikeouts. The first pitch fastball misses down and in. Smith homered in the first inning yesterday.
Super disciplined to look over the middle. One little coffee can area of what you're looking for as a hitter. If you see it, let it go.
One and one.
That wasn't it. That was a great pitch.
This was an Orioles lineup that at the start of play was beginning to make the kind of noise Buck Showalter expected. They'd scored 20 runs during their 3-game winning streak, 8 home runs during that period. David Price kept them quiet for the most part tonight. An opportunity here with the tying run at the plate, and now it's 2 balls and a strike to Seth Smith.
Well, now 30 pitches.
Two balls and 2 strikes. You know, the Orioles have matched the productivity against Craig Kimbrel in the last 5 batters. that Kimbrel had allowed on his watch in his last 54 plate appearances. 1 line drive, a walk, and 2 hits. You said it a couple of times tonight. Again, the Orioles down to their final strike. Still 2-2. You see Seth Smith kind of opening and closing his eyes a lot. He caught a foul ball against the Tigers earlier this season that came up off the dirt and caught him in the face. This is back on May 18th, and he tried to stick around and finish here, but his eyes kept tearing up. He had enough trouble to where the Orioles gave him some time away. You can see him kind of flexing that eye. I'm not sure if that's at all related. Smith has said that his eyes are fine. Dropped down and struck him out. Perhaps Smith dialed up for the fastball.